Hello everybody, we are finally live. This is Creature Corner GDQ Hotfix show about featuring games that primarily feature non-human protagonists or player characters. And tonight we've got two games that might be a little bit of a head scratcher. Why are these featured on Creature Corner? Well, you're just gonna have to wait, watch, and see because we're gonna tell you all about it. First we've got Metroid Prime 100% Normal by Edzan. That's gonna be a huge fun romp through the entire Metroid Prime game. And then we're going to have Be Damned come on later with The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess Goron Mines RTA, which is a wild category, super different from any percent. We've got some real fun categories on for y'all tonight. Y'all know me, I love my fun categories, so I'm really excited about them both. So we've got a really fun Gamecube era Nintendo lineup for y'all, and so you should stick around the whole way through. But why don't we just get ourselves on started? Let's go ahead and curl into a morph ball and get started with the Metroid Prime run.
All right, Sam, you want to start talking about something?
Hello, everybody. GDQ Hotfix. I'm Samuel6710. I'm a speedrunner for Metroid Prime and a randomizer player and database maintainer. And I'm here with Edson. Say hi, Edson, our runner.
Hi. Yep, I'm Edson. I've been running this game for a very long time, and I do a bunch of task work for this game. And yeah, I guess I'll get started. You want to count me down?
Absolutely. All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Sweet.
All right, so there's a lot to talk about this game, but we're first going to have to start through our tutorial here in the Frigate Orpheon. You're going to see a lot of moving around, going really fast. So we'll get things brick by brick. First, we need to shoot these targets, trying to teach us how to fire a beam. We know how to do that. And immediately after we deal with these targets here, you're going to see Edson lock onto the ship here using the scan visor and do something called a scan dash. Scan dashing in this game abuses an exploit where the developers forgot to make a sideways movement cap. And what this allows you to do is do a combat strafe where normally you're supposed to dodge around enemies and letting go halfway through. You retain all that speed and you just get sent flying across rooms. And they're used not only to just go fast, but we can also get to a lot of places that we were never intended to be. And you also see a lot of air movement from Edson, because air movement is generally faster than just walking. So you'll see Edson jumping around, also pressing the L button at certain points. If you let go of L halfway through a jump, you'll gain some speed. And just using that a whole bunch lets you go really fast. It really adds up over time. And just rolling around, getting through rooms that aren't super good for jumping, we can just roll around in morph ball.
Yeah, this whole section's kind of just the tutorial for the game, so there's not much that we are really able to do to make it go any faster, sadly.
Yes, but we will see plenty of different things. You also see a little bit of a damage boost there. Enemies can send you flying in some places. We can also bomb jump to that pipe there. Using morph ball bombs lets us gain some height. We can use it to get into some places that we weren't intended to be. Eventually we'll get an item where we won't really need to bomb jump anywhere. That will be really exciting to show off.
It's funny how it's right at the start.
Indeed. All right, and we're going to come up on the very first boss fight of the game. Going to be pretty challenging. Edson, you need to focus here.
I hope not.
Yeah, don't blink.
The whole frigate wasn't it the first area the devs created? 'Cause they experimented a lot with it, and it has a whole bunch of wonky things, so it makes it really difficult to find any sort of skips in this area.
Yep. Yeah, this was the Parasite Queen. She just fell into the reactor of the ship, and I'm no scientist, but I'm pretty sure that's bad. So Now we have to get out as fast as we can. Normally you're supposed to go through a series of tunnels that get blown open as the frigate starts falling apart, but we are going to do something a little bit different here. Just a little bit different. You know, if you squint, you might be able to see the difference.
Might be a lot of it different.
Maybe a little bit. So we've got this little corner here. Edson is going to line up in a specific spot, enter morph ball, and now we're out of bounds. So out of bounds in this game is pretty complicated. The general rule of thumb and the meme that everybody repeats is that every room is inside of a box. When you're in this box, the game behaves like normal. You know, you'll fall down, be able to jump and the like. Outside of it is Aether, and when you're in the Aether, you'll kind of just look like you're floating. And if you exit that Aether, you'll fall back and the physics will come back. But when you fall out of it, you have a small frame window to jump, which you'll see Edson here in the elevator use to climb up it pretty quickly. And we also have to interact with these doors so that the room transitions to the next one. Because normally you just walk through the doors when you're inbounds, but because you can't walk through them normally, you need to hit a few triggers in order for the next room to load and also for the next room to appear. So a combination of that allows you to get through these rooms the way you came in, which is much faster than doing inbounds.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was really solid. Nicely done.
Right. Yeah, something that you can't really notice too, since you can't watch my eyes while I play this game, is out of bounds. One of the most important things to always check is the mini-map. You can watch it transition from room to room, as Sam was mentioning. And so you'll know, because if you keep moving without transitioning, you can get stuck in soft lock pretty easily.
Yep. Edson made that look easy, but out of bounds is really, really punishing if you're not careful.
When this was first discovered, it was actually, we didn't think it was really going to be much faster. And then after only about a month or two, people just started getting better and better at it, and now it's over a minute faster than doing it inbounds.
Yep. So as mentioned before, scan dashing lets us go to places that we weren't intended to be. So we're just gonna go to this ledge behind the ship and grab the space jump boots, which is something you don't get until like a third of the way through the game in a casual playthrough.
Something like that.
And
you're supposed to have
it's a
boost ball and
boost ball, morph ball, a whole lot of things. Space jump is a very simple item. It lets you jump twice, and you get a little bit more height out of your first jump. But with the way you can just go absolutely flying in this game, having a second jump really, really lets you get to a lot of places you were not meant to be. And we'll see how useful it is immediately as soon as we enter the Chosa ruins here. So normally, you may have noticed we lost all our items in that frigate escape. Normally, you get blown up in an elevator and you lose your stuff. We did not. However, the game just makes a check to see if to just remove your items again. So we have to re-grab the missile launcher, or just a missile expansion, because the missile launcher is just a glorified missile expansion. We can grab it from that half pipe just with space jump, where you're normally supposed to use the boost ball, which we don't get till later. And we'll be able to go straight to the vanilla morph ball pickup.
vanilla.
Yeah, there's too many randomizers. We get to say hi to the Beatles here, and we get to listen to some fantastic music.
I think it sadly runs. The music doesn't stay as long as it does in any percent, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it stays until Zoid.
Yeah.
Which we will see. A little spoiler alert there. So now we're.
Sam is rolling through a ball. Sorry, just a second. I just can't work a little animation.
Oh, absolutely. It's got quite a few
Samus
animations for
has-
entering Morphle.
Yeah, I think there's 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think so. And we'll also see some more with being midair and some other unmorph behavior. So we're on our way to go pick up the charge beam, which is technically an optional pickup. You can skip this. However, later in the game, we are going to fight a lot of enemies that we're required to defeat in order to finish the game, and charge beam absolutely trivializes the combat. So getting this actually saves time, despite having to go a few extra rooms and scan all these hidden nodes to obtain it.
It's also 100%.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Normally in a percent, you can pick up the any percent of items. But
Still
again, I
saves
guess you could technically get
tremendous
charge beam
amount of
later.
time. It's actually slower though, for 100%.
It is.
Yeah, even still.
Yeah, we get that now. If you can get that out of the way, it's going to be quite useful. So the reason I got that confused is because the beginning route between any percent and 100% are actually very similar. You need to get a few early game items that just allow us to start going everywhere. And it'll start after we pick up the morph ball bombs again here from an enemy called the Incinerator Drone, who holds a very special place, or I guess more of an infamous place in our hearts, who we belovedly call Zoid, named after the developer who made this boss. And
Yep.
the thing is about Zoid is that it's a very simple fight. Normally supposed to just avoid these spinny flamethrower things and try and avoid them, but you can just stand in front of Zoid here and completely avoid them. And now you just wait until Zoid's little red dot appears, which can take various amounts of time. We need to do it 4 times, and you can lose up to
38
50 seconds of time. 38 seconds
38 seconds
of time.
Yep.
Depending on how friendly Zoid wants to be. Usually, if the music does not loop, that means it was good RNG.
And so I'd also, I think, created 3 heavy RNG points in this game, this being one of them, and we'll get to the other ones later.
Yep. Although with all known tricks and exploits now, this is actually, I think, the only true RNG part of each speedrun now.
Yes, I believe you're right. Yeah, everything else can either be skipped or lessened.
Yep. So here are the morph ball bombs. Yep, so these are very much required for a lot of things, and they'll also be useful for moving out of bounds, which we'll do more in the future.
If you don't have bombs and you go out of bounds, you're almost guaranteed to soft lock, unless you really know what you're doing.
Yep. Or just in for a bad time, at the very least.
Yes.
And we'll see why. So we can grab that missile behind Zoid before we leave. And now we're on our way to pick up an item that we're not exactly supposed to be getting next in terms of a casual playthrough.
I'm not supposed to get it for a while.
So we have a trick with quite the interesting naming history. As you may or may not know, the Metroid Prime speedrun community has impeccable naming. Impeccable names. We call this trick here Ice Beam Before Flagra, where we are going to just jump through the non-existent ceiling in this room by doing a slope jump, pushing against the slope to give us more height. And now we are going to maneuver out of bounds all the way to the Ice Beam before fighting Flagra, which is normally what you're supposed to do so you can proceed to Magma Caverns. So this is one of the most probably iconic wall crawls in Metroid Prime speedrunning. We do it here in 100% because getting the Ice Beam early is really, really useful to our routing purposes. It is also done in any percent, but now actually it is not done until after you fight Flagra, and that name got changed from Ice Beam before Flagra to Ice Beam before Flagra after Flagra. But then we found a new route that ended up fighting or getting Ice Beam before Flagra again. So you could call it Ice Beam before Flagra after Flagra before Flagra. It's a great naming scheme.
Very complex. It's what happens when you have a game with over a decade of history.
Yep.
Oh.
A lot of ducks.
Oh.
Nobody gets that.
We missed a standable piece of collision there. We have some methods we can do to recover this.
I'm just not.
Yeah, you can play it safe. We can, because we fell into the Aether there, we can walk around it into the other room's collision. So we can just go back to where we were before for safety.
Love backups. That's what we get to see when you watch live marathon stuff.
Yep. Oh, the room
I'm
is still
stuck.
transitioned.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, on the minimap.
Huh.
Yeah, so this wall crawl, as I mentioned before, out of bounds can get really hard. If you make even one tiny mistake, a lot can go wrong. But
And
we
then
do have plenty of recovery methods.
I like how I fell victim to my own pay attention to the minimap. Nice.
Yeah, it happens, especially with wall crawls that you do so much that they become muscle memory. If you accidentally transition back to a room that you're not supposed to, it can easily slip your mind. So again, we are in the Aether. We can very briefly re-enter the box, and we have a 3-frame or 2-frame window there to jump.
Good old 3-frame tricks.
Yep. There are a lot of
Now
tight jumps in this game.
All right, now we're back.
There we go. Nicely done.
Good recovery.
We were trying to avoid triggering that guy there. Normally we try to avoid it, but we do have a little backup where we can shoot the door there and just load around us. Oh, just barely missed it.
Or not.
It's okay. Once again, we have backups. Wait, yeah, looking at everything from out of bounds is a pretty funky experience.
Wait. Don't I have to fight it now?
No. Depending on what you want to do, you can ceiling warp into the tunnel if you'd like.
I don't know how to do that. So.
That's fair. Yeah, so you try to avoid that ghost because it locks the door there, and there is a method of approaching the door after you fired it, because we can shoot it just in a very small spot below the door. And when you approach a door that has been shot, that will cause that room to load. Normally, when you're loading a room, you want to hit a trigger that will cause the room to load. But if you cannot do that, you can force load a room by shooting the door and approaching it. Generally, this isn't advised because what load triggers do is not only do they load the room that is upcoming, that unloads the room behind it. And when you force load a room, because it doesn't unload the previous room, that may cause the game to run out of memory and can more often than not cause a crash. We do have methods of avoiding that crash, but generally it's going to be safer and also tends to be faster to hit the load trigger instead. But because those load triggers were designed to be interacted with from inbounds instead of out of bounds, you have to do a lot of funky things like what Edson is doing now to either touch the load trigger or just, find it.
I know it's in one of the bends.
Yeah, with these tunnels especially, they're just kind of placed arbitrarily.
What part of the tunnel do you ceiling warp in?
It's just the bend of it, where it's the sloped part of it.
Whoa.
Oh. Got a lot of speed there, Javier.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It might.
this is a good example of how out of bounds can get pretty tough.
For sure. And while y'all are figuring out how to re-enter the bounds, if you'd like me to chime in with some cool announcements, I'm always
Absolutely.
here for that. All right. Well, y'all know that Summer Games Done Quick 2025 is coming up, right? Next month. It's really, really soon. But actually, there's some people raising money for SGDQ right now. You can get ready for Summer Games Done Quick 2025 by checking out our SGDQ ambassadors. All throughout the month of June, support Doctors Without Borders by joining each ambassador's community in the lead up to SGDQ. Use !SGDQ ambassadors to check out the full schedule. That is super, super cool. People are doing streams on their own channels to benefit SGDQ and get us hyped for the event. And also, if you are a creator and you want to support GDQ in your own way, you can submit prizes to us. Prize submissions are open for SGDQ 2025 right now. Visit gamesdonequick.com for more information. We are so excited about the event. It is going to be huge. It is going to be fun. It's going to be fantastic. If you have not seen that schedule, please go look at the schedule. It is incredible. We might even have a Metroid game or two on there. So if you're a Metroid fan, you should definitely go check out that schedule and see what we've got in store. And also, one more schedule that you should probably look up is the Hotfix schedule. If you're curious about what's coming up on Hotfix, you can check out this week's schedule and then explore our full season lineup at gdq.gg/hotfix.
No, that's exciting. All right, well, we did successfully manage to just kind of fall through the ceiling there. So another
Hooray.
aspect of transitioning between rooms is that when a room or a collision is loaded, but it is collision that is not inside the aether box of the room you are transitioned to, hopefully that made sense with a lot of words there, the collision of the room that you are not transitioned to does not make any checks to see if you are stuck, which is the reason you can soft lock. And what this also allows you to do is something called a ceiling warp, where if you have a lot of particularly downward speed onto collision that is sloped or is just thin, I believe, you can just kind of go through it. And that is, we will see that in a couple of other tricks at the very least, I believe. And you can use it for various recovery strategies, which you saw Edson do. It was nicely done. And now we have Ice Beam early, which is
Very early.
going to be very nice. Yes, very early. You are intended to have various Spider Ball, Wave Beam. I mean, you're intended to have a different beam at this point. All right, so now we have Ice Beam. We can easily traverse this way through the way that you're normally supposed to go. You're normally supposed to use Wave Beam to get into this room to reach the Ice Beam, but the Wave Beam side of it is on the opposite side, and the other side is a blue door. Normally you're supposed to have a lot of items to get this missile as well, but we like to say that everything in Metroid Prime is standable, and it really is, and we can just use those to just barely slide into that little slot there and grab that missile. That opening, by the way, is quite literally just barely big enough for us to be able to fit through.
Yeah, you actually technically don't fit there. You ledge clip it, and so the game puts you in.
Yeah. That's right. And we can also grab this E-Tank while we're here. It's going to be our first one, and it's going to be very useful because we're going to have to go through some areas where we were intended to have a little bit more health.
You don't really notice how much the other suits' health damage reduction until you don't have them.
Yes, that is true. So we do not have any of suits right now. In this game, when you pick up the Varia suit, which is our first suit, it'll give you 10% flat damage reduction on all damage. And later on, we're going to get 2 more suits, which give 20% and then 50%. 10% is nice, but it is still pretty sketchy. So this E-Tank is going to be helpful. So now we actually get to go get the Varia suit. The ghosts here are normally not supposed to be here at this point before fighting Flagra. They occur if the ghost that was in that big room has been triggered.
Dreaded hope.
Yep.
I've lost way too many runs to that room over the years.
Yep. That room is a time. All right, so here's Flagra, which is a pretty infamous boss for not exactly being difficult, but just being rather time-consuming. The Metroid Prime is calculated by its in-game timer, which is paused during cutscenes and item acquisition pickups. Flagra is the fight itself takes like maybe 10 to 15 seconds of in-game time, but takes minutes of real time because there are cutscenes of Flagra getting shriveled up and then the solar panels coming back down to lift her back up. You are intended to lower each solar panel and then trigger the bomb slot. However, these bomb slots aren't actual bomb slots. Instead, they just check to see if Morph Ball is damaging it. And because of that, we can just lay bombs on the outside of them and damage Flagra that way. This freaks Flagra out a bit because she is currently swiping at Samus, but Samus is not there. And we can continue Flagra swiping at a non-existent Samus.
Fun fact, technically Samus is there. Her position coordinates are in that spot where Flagra is swinging, but the game hasn't actually put you there and made you visible yet.
Yeah. And we could also break Flagra's knees there. It's one of my favorite dashes. So yeah, that's Flagra. Very nicely done as well. That fight can actually get very sketchy because Flagra's hitboxes are a little busted. You don't really get any invincibility frames or any invincibility, and sometimes you'll get caught in a lot of hitboxes and you can lose a lot of health pretty quickly.
Yeah. Flagra is notorious for comboing people, new runners.
Oh yeah.
Ending their runs.
New runners, she has killed a lot of my first runs, I'll say, as well.
Yes. Me too.
I mean, even some of my more higher level runs, sometimes Flagra just catches you off guard. So now we are going to T-pose in the air here, and that gives us Varia suit. We got big old shoulder balls now.
And very, very pointy knees.
Yep. They should really have a knee attack in this game. That'd be sick.
I want to
that
see
the
Samus
intention?
do some martial arts.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
That would be fun.
All right, with our newly acquired kneecaps and shoulders, we can now sustain extreme temperatures. So we get to go directly to Magmore Caverns here. Nice bunny hop through the door there.
Thanks.
I guess I should bring up Limited Influence just briefly here. So in this game, because we use tank controls, you need to hold the R button to look in 360 degrees. And this puts you into a state called Limited Influence, where you can't really control where you're going. but if you continue to hold the R button while midair, you can turn Samus, and this will actually give you some speed in the direction that you're looking away. And this is a pretty high skill ceiling because you can use minute angles to gain or lose speed. And you'll see that used a lot with jumping midair, with space jump, holding R, and then turning. So we are also going to grab this item here called an artifact. A lot of people thought that you were supposed to need super missiles for this, but you don't. 2 missiles will do. We are going to need these to access the final boss, as well as just requiring them for the 100% completion. There are 12 of them, so we are going to route them in on the way as much as we can. So not only can you use the scan visor for dashing off enemies or nodes, you can also just lock onto enemies and dash off them and using your combat visor. We can use those to get to a lot of places.
I think one of my favorite things about this game is how, as you mentioned, it's tank controls, but once you play it for a while and get comfortable with it, it really doesn't feel that way.
Well, most certainly. One of the best things about this game is the tank controls, because the tank controls and the introduction of that limited influence mechanic gives you so much freedom of movement and movement expression that you could spend years mastering it and still never hit the top.
Oh, 100%. I've spent hours on single rooms before tassing them, so...
Yep. You should after this run, you should totally watch a Metroid Prime TAS. They are absolutely insane. Edson here has actually made 100% tool-assisted speedrun as well. Nice recovery there. Unfortunately, didn't get that really long dash.
Yeah.
Here's another E-tank we can very safely get on the way.
This game is unique, well, kind of, where the tasking is just so far beyond what humans can do. It really looks like a whole different game.
It is a whole different game, honestly. This game has the amount of jank that is in this game allows for so many things that are just beyond any, even like remote human doability. And yet, despite that, human execution is actually surprisingly fast. The current world record for any percent is now only 6 minutes slower than the most recent any percent task, I think, which is kind of insane. So now we're here in Vendrana after making our way through Magmore. We picked up a couple items on the way, but mainly we just wanted to get here. Usually you're supposed to go around onto some platforms, but we could use a slope jump to get up to this area here. We can climb this room, say hi to the big old Chozo statue there. And we're going to go pick up our first, quote-unquote, intended beam.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the first. I remember when I got here as a kid for the first time. A lot of people got stuck at this puzzle back then.
Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can... So when you lay a bomb in this game, it starts a 3-second countdown to refill all of them. So you can time them so that you can destroy all of those and then get your bombs refilled so you can make it out. So we were about to get wave beam, and then the Shigoths just kind of showed up. They can be a little angry, but 2 missiles and some power beam pellets will take them down.
No missiles?
Wow, it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
so we're gonna want missiles for this big mama Shigoth who's been hiding away and rotting away in this wall for who knows how long. And usually you need to do a lot of finagling to take her down, but if you lay some bombs just right and then fire some missiles at her, she goes down real easy.
Eventually.
Eventually. There we go. You can also overlap those two cutscenes. If you skip them, you can have some input before the text box appears. All right, and now that we have Wave Beam, we can make our way to our next set of items that we have access to. Then we can start entering more of a cleanup phase. The idea of 100% routing in this game is just to get the majors that you need while picking up items that are on the way. And we're about to get our second to last item that we need for cleanup, really. And then we can just start swooping up a bunch of the items that we need.
By the time I leave Vendrana in about 20 minutes, I'll never be coming back. It'll all be done.
Optimally,
Also,
you do not stay in one area for too long when it comes to routing this game.
I think Magmore is the only place that you actually like come back to more than once.
Yep. Magmore is a gateway to this area, so we have to make a few trips. So this item here. What's that?
I was just asking, can you choose to not use tank controls? And the answer is no. There's only one control scheme for this game.
Yeah, we do. There is the Metroid Prime trilogy and the remaster that has other dual stick options or motion control options, whatever your preference is. We just got tank controls, our little GameCube controller. So the item we just picked up, Boost Ball, is is a really, really powerful movement tool. If you played later versions like the Metroid Prime Trilogy Remastered or the other sequels of this game, there is a cooldown between uses. However, the cooldown in this game, which there isn't really a cooldown, is significantly shorter. So you can go really, really fast with this thing. So we will see it used a lot. So we just skipped a whole big puzzle of lifting water and going through platforms there by putting on some standables. And now we're in the Space Pirate Labs, which is definitely probably the scarier part of this run for newer runners. Just because there's a lot of pirates and a lot of fighting that you have to do.
It's actually, in my opinion, a little scarier in a run because we have very low health compared to the rest of 100% at this point. And it's very, very easy to die.
Absolutely. And we'll really be able to see why with this next upcoming room, probably the most technical in terms of movement. Yeah, but we should be good.
All right.
That was fantastic. Nicely done.
So cute.
And then, of course, my beams get messed up.
Those turrets are absolute bullies.
They are.
Thankfully, Ice Beam one shot to them, and they'll stay frozen for eternity. So normally you're supposed to activate some spinners there, do a lengthy puzzle to lower this platform. But we're going to stand on some pipes and dash across and get it early. We can also take out those pirates, so we can overlap this cutscene here, where Samus briefly stands on absolutely nothing, and then we fall.
This room is deceptively... It can be weird, because you have to do things in the right order.
Yeah. There are a lot of times where sometimes I would grab the item before taking out those pirates, and you would have to climb back up to fight them again because you need to take them out in order for the room to unlock. So we do have this super missile requirement back where we came from, so falling down after that cutscene was actually quite convenient for us. And then we just go back.
This room,
so we just
observatory,
do the exact same thing we did.
Yeah, but it is. It looks easy, but it's for sure one of the harder rooms. I know I lost lots of runs to it early on.
Yeah, for just the record, even if something looks easy, everything in this game is hard. It is always harder than it looks.
For sure.
But it's definitely very learnable. So normally when you get to this room, you're supposed to fight a gang of pirates that just kind of appear. We can avoid it there by just barely going forward far enough so that we can jump behind us and land on standable, and then just jump over the trigger. So we don't need to deal with them at all. And also, you're supposed to have the plasma beam to normally get this, but the barriers that are blocking the top are just barely short enough for us to jump over and shoot a missile and grab this artifact early. So with that out of the way, that means we never, ever have to come back here.
Yeah, we're kind of just going through Phendrana, cleaning up everything at this point. 'Cause you don't want to come back to this place. It's slow.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, we hate slow. Slow's bad.
Slow is indeed bad. You guys like Metroids?
Maybe.
think
They're
Samus
kind of
likes this
creature. They're
Creature
kind of
corner?
real creaturey. Yep.
Metroid Corner?
Metroid corner? Oh, I can dig it. Which we haven't talked about this yet, and I know there will be points later where we can talk about it, but Samus is not a regular human woman as much as people might
probably
think.
not.
Yep.
With how much she's flying, it kind of makes sense with that burb DNA.
My favorite burb alien girl.
I think at this point, isn't she a mixture of Chozo, human, and Metroid?
Well, in the ending of Dreads, spoilers, she's essentially 100% Metroid.
Yeah.
She just like becomes a Metroid.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I know she starts out with Chozo DNA. That's like frame 1.
Yep.
But I don't quite know where the Metroid comes in. I wish I was an expert. I'm not.
Me too. So in that room, you probably noticed that Edson grabbed those scan points as he was falling. By avoiding moving the control stick, we can end that cutscene with Samus falling and looking down, so we can grab the scan points as we fall. Normally, the reason we got ice early was mainly because of this right here. We can just cut through this room very easily and get to access to the rest of Phendrana, but we're not going to go through it just yet. We're actually going to take a little detour here to this elevator. We're going to grab a very important item for getting everything else here in Phendrana.
Also, I was thinking about it for a moment, and I'm pretty sure the Metroid DNA comes in during Metroid Fusion.
Yeah, I think that is right. That's when it first becomes a thing.
Yeah.
So we are going to take a quick safety save right here. Almost every single missile station is locked by a missile blast shield. But a cool little thing that Edson just did there is that every door that's not a missile blast shield, you shoot a missile at it, it gets reflected. So we can use that to just kind of blow it up. So normally you're supposed to activate these conduits with the wave beam. However, there's a way we can get out of bounds here and align ourselves just right and use boost ball to build up speed and clip through this collision here to skip having to do that puzzle. Nicely done.
This is one of my favorite little puzzle skips because it doesn't really save that much time. It's only a few seconds, but it's so cool.
Yes, looking cool is the most important part of this speedrun, I have to say.
It does save a lot of real time though, so keep that in mind.
It does. I actually still have not learned this trick. I'm stubborn.
It's about as easy as I made it look, at least for you.
I see. Again,
I like the qualifier, at least
things
for
are not
you.
easy in this game.
Yeah.
So, main reason that we came here, besides getting the energy tank, was for the plasma beam. And normally you were supposed to have power bombs, grapple beams, spider ball to do this room. You're supposed to ease these spinners using the boost ball. We can skip 2 of them by using a combination of that scan dash and a tiny little standable there in the wall to R jump and just save like a good amount of time there. That was also really nicely done. So now we have this gigantic spider ball puzzle that it really wants you to do, but we don't really care about that, so we're just gonna slope jump, and we're there.
That puzzle takes like, how long did it?
Several
I made
minutes.
a task of it. It took like a minute or something. Yeah, it's a long one.
So that really saves a whole lot of time. All right, and now that we have the plasma beam, we can do practically everything we need to. So we're going to return to Phendrana with our newly acquired plasma beam, and we can completely clear it out.
Yep. When I leave Phendrana next, that'll be it. The whole place will be done. Then, kind of just gonna go and clean up the rest of the game.
Absolutely.
Pretty much have all the essential items at this point, except for Phazon suit.
Yeah, we'll get to that soon.
Yeah.
So normally you're supposed to have Spire to climb that track. We got a little pole that we can stand on. So this is the far side of Phendrana. A lot of fun movement to talk about, and the first underwater quote-unquote area that we get to interact with.
It also has the best music in the game.
Oh yeah, crank that. It's very good. So normally you're supposed to have grapple beam. You lower a stalactite and get a grapple point across that, but we can just dash across and lower this to reveal a missile. There's Hunter, the Hunter Metroid, bullying us as per usual. We don't like Hunter.
It's funny, scan dashing and just dashing in general pretty much made grapple beam the most useless item in this game.
Well, we could say a thing or two about thermal visor.
That's true.
For reference, grapple beam is very easily skippable with space jump, but thermal visor is even worse, as every single quote-unquote requirement can be done without using it. So the only reason we pick it up is for convenience for the final boss and the 100% requirement.
Yep.
So
yeah, because low percent does not get it.
Yep. So normally you were supposed to have grapple beam to get to the top there, and you have main power bombs at that point. We don't have those yet, so we just grabbed that expansion without it, but expansions still give you the ability to use it, unlike a game like Metroid Dread. So we get power bombs early that way, and it's going to be quite useful for that artifact right next to it. Oop.
Quick way to lose 2 E-tanks.
Yeah, the enemy that Edson just dropped directly onto was a gel zap, and those guys absolutely annihilate your health if you land on them.
I've seen them wipe away 7 E-tanks in just about a second or 2.
Yeah, it's damage per frame, right?
Yep.
Here's another grapple beam requirement. Just, there we go, nicely done. Slope jump into an R jump gets us up there. And now we can grab the gravity suit. Nice, and we can use a fun little wall boost there. By boosting into sloped collision, we can gain a lot of height, especially underwater.
Yeah, underwater physics without gravity suit is...
They're crazy.
You can go further and higher than when you do have gravity suit.
Yeah, it's not featured in this run. We did see it a little bit in one of the rooms previously, but slope jumping underwater gets you a pretty absurd amount of height. If this were an any percent or low percent speedrun, you could see it a lot more, but we get to have gravity. And even though the slope jumps look cool, gravity suit is a lot faster and a lot easier.
Yeah, and to emphasize it a little bit, this little area where you get gravity suit, you can get out of it without getting gravity.
Oh yeah,
Even though
you
you're
can
not
get out of
supposed to be
it
able
without
to.
space jump too, without
Yeah.
gravity. You can do a lot of things in this game with just a handful of items. So we're going to want to get a power bomb drop because we only got the one expansion. We don't get a total of 4. We tried for that pirate there. We didn't get one. We do have some other opportunities to get them if we choose, although there are some instances where people will just try to get a single drop and then forego the other chances to hopefully eke out some time save. Was that one?
I like trying to go for them just because it does save about 25 seconds to get the drop.
And it's also very convenient because you don't have to do a lot of snipes, we'll say. The bomb move may also give us one.
What's required for low percent?
Here, I'll answer that while you go say hi to our friend. So, in this game, the space jump boots, I'll say, are not required. That took probably the longest to figure out. What is required is the 12 artifacts, phazon suit, various suit, X-ray visor, all 3 beams, and the main power bombs, as well as 1 missile. All of those are required in some way to traverse rooms. There is also a lower category called 20%, where you can skip the various suit. However, it is very much tasks only. So here's Thardus. Here's our second boss. What's up?
That's the most task-only task thing ever in this game. 20%.
So you should see there's also geothermal core, 21% inbounds.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing. So, about the boss here, let me stop yapping about random Metroid Prime trivia for a second. You're supposed to use thermal visor to reveal various limbs that you can destroy. 1 fully charged plasma shot and a missile is enough to take it out. If we had a power bomb, we could use it at the start of a fight to destroy 2 limbs immediately, but RNG was not on our side. So we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, and one of the best ways to save time is while Thardus is rolling, which he will do after every single time you destroy a rock, is shoot him mid-roll, which we call snipes. And some of them are harder to pull off on certain limbs than others, such as this one, which is really annoying, but they do save a whole lot of time.
That was pretty good, minus that last one. That was a good fight.
Absolutely. Yep.
Fun little thing about Thardus, too, is you're not supposed to have Ice Beam when you fight Thardus casually. And despite that, the devs still went in and made Ice Beam do less damage to Thardus than all the other beams.
Yep.
He's a water type?
Something like that. Ice type Pokemon Thardus. So this is our last phase, just 1 central chest that we need to destroy. And there we go, nicely done.
That was pretty good, except, no power bomb drop, but you can't control those things.
Yep. If only.
Well, I think that would...
Bug.
Wasn't there going to be a break?
Yeah, if we're looking to take that break, whenever you can pause the game, we can go ahead.
That'd be pretty much now.
The break screen.
Yep.
All right, fantastic. We're going to take a little wellness break, so go ahead and get a big stretch, go get some water, do whatever it is that you need to do, and we will be back in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back, everybody, from that short break. We are back with some more Metroid Prime by Edson. Take it back away.
All right.
All right, thank you. Shall I count down? You good?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, and we're off once again. So we just wrapped up Thardus. We're on our way out now with the newly obtained Spider Ball. It'll help us clean up some checks in Fendrana that we passed previously. Now that we have the Plasma Beam, we can essentially do anything. So mainly we're routing in the items that we had to pass before for cleanup. So we're going to see some unique movement Eventually, we'll see some more wall crawling to get items faster.
And also now, unlike earlier in labs, we have a lot more E-tanks. So dying is pretty much a non-issue at this point.
Yep. So we're going to get another power bomb expansion here. And here's the point where we want to start being a little bit more conscious of our power bomb ammunition, because there are, in 100%, especially when you get to the later areas of the game, you're going to require a significant amount of power bombs, and sometimes you'll have to rely on drops. So just keeping an eye out for that. We also get to say hi to the very oversized Ridley Shadow. Normally you're supposed to see that way earlier in the game, after you pick up the boost ball and are on your way to go get the space jump boots. We don't really care about that.
Yeah, you're not even supposed to have space jump yet when you see that.
Yep.
That's how out of order this is.
So we can do a little slope jump here and grab this lock-on from the Sheegoth to reach the spire track. Nicely done. Oh, nice boosting. Here's a little fun fact about the boost ball. That's actually a developer intended, is that it's actually optimal to not hold the stick or only hold it left and right when you're trying to move forward with the boost ball. It lets you gain speed very, very quickly.
Yeah, because it like caps you. Boost ball essentially has the same mechanics as moving, where there's not a sideways cap in a sense. You can think about it the same way, at least. It's not comparable completely.
Yep.
But yeah, because it like slows you down to like, I think it's like 42 speed if you're holding forward. Otherwise you can actually get endless speed if you're not holding any direction.
Yep. There are some, there's one spot in particular in the game where you can boost for a pretty extended period of time in a circle, and you gain a pretty absurd amount of speed.
Yeah.
So this is our last check that we require Plasma Beam for, an artifact. Fun fact, in the any percent route, you can actually get this without the Plasma Beam, but in 100%, it's faster to come back here with the Plasma Beam.
I want to come up with a route one day that doesn't have to do this in 100%.
We'll see. We do. There is one route that's actually faster than the one that we're doing, but it's quite technically demanding.
It is. And also, this is Fendrana done.
Yeah, we just fully cleared that area, and no need to come back. We're also about to wrap up the last of Magmor. We have to come through here anyways to get to the other areas, so it routes quite nicely.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think when I leave here, I don't think I touch Magmor again.
Yep. Nice little instant unmorph there. By obscuring the camera and then unmorphing, you can skip that animation. Normally supposed to use boost to raise a platform and traverse there, but again, dash, let's get there. Here's another one of our artifacts. We can scoop it up there and morph at the same time. Nicely done. And here's another power bomb requirement. We actually do need to use another power bomb right after this, but thankfully the item that is here is a power bomb. So we don't need to worry about any drops.
That would be a headache if it wasn't.
Oh, yeah. The drops here especially are very scarce. Here's a major item that is not required even in a casual sense, our ice spreader.
Yeah, it's one of the few, like, optional upgrades.
Yep, it does have some niche speedrunning use, so that we'll see.
Yeah, actually will.
So normally supposed to use morph to use bombs to get up through those tracks, but you can just jump on them because everything is standable in this game.
And even if it's not standable, you can stand on the edge of it.
Yep.
Because
Practically everything, yeah.
every seam in the game you can stand on, no matter how small.
Yep. So now we're cleaning up the early parts of the Talanofa world here. We're going to see Edson's favorite room here in a second, called Root Cave. And by favorite room, I mean least favorite room. He absolutely hates it. But in Hondo, you can climb the whole thing, and you can do some pretty cool strats. Like so, nice of him. So here in a second, you're going to see Edson walk on nothing, because Samus is magic, the bird magic.
Bird magic.
But in reality, those platforms are actually there, but they're invisible. You would usually use the X-ray visor to see them, but they are still there, so you don't need them. And grab this pair of missiles here.
That went
Nice.
well.
You can do an interesting dash there.
As you can hopefully tell by how that went, it is one of the rooms I've practiced the most.
Do you want to save?
It's a bit late for that.
Okay, we're good. It should be fine.
Or I just don't do it.
That's true. So,
it saves like 5 seconds, and it's a
yeah,
lot of
so
risk.
there's a pretty short puzzle that we'll see to unlock a missile. However, you can go out of bounds and do a short wall crawl, or just maneuvering out of bounds, to skip doing that puzzle, called Vault Wall Crawl. It's a pretty minor one. It's relatively easy, but it's also obviously out of bounds, and out of bounds can be hard.
The main issue is there's just a chance of soft locking every time you do it, and there's no way to really prevent it.
So again, cleaning up here, start with the upper item. Ooh, nearly cut that roll jump. This was seen earlier in the run, but hadn't mentioned, was with Instinamorphs. When the morph ball leaves the ground, there's a period of time where you can jump out of it. Thing is, though, is that the unmorph animation usually takes a full second, so you can never use it. But the Instinamorph skips that animation, so if you fall off a ledge, get an Instinamorph, and jump, you'll just jump midair. We call that an Instinamorph jump, or if you use bombs for it, you can call it a bomb space jump, or just a BSJ.
I just want to say, shoutouts to East for being here while he's supposed to be sleeping, and also for being one of the best tutorial creators for this game.
Absolutely.
Created lots of really great videos and resources.
Yep, I've used them myself.
Huge shout out to anyone who makes educational resources for speedruns. Y'all are incredibly appreciated.
Oh yeah, for this game especially. Alright, so that room that Edson just climbed up, normally supposed to use a whole lot of missiles and wait for platforms to fall, but dashes combined with standable terrain, and we can just skip it. Normally in my head, whenever I go through that room, I need to do a powerbomb check. The enemies that Edson passed by, called Scarabs, are very good for dropping power bombs, because we need at least one for something coming up here. So you'll notice Edson is going to this little spot there, instead of just going directly to this missile. We're actually loading a room to do a wall crawl, or an out of bounds, called Training Chamber Wall Crawl, which I'm going to shut up just briefly so we can focus on this. Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was really good. Nicely done. Okay, there's another ceiling warp as mentioned before. So we
But that one's a lot easier.
Yeah, much easier. That skips having to do this ghost fight and some puzzle work that you have to do. And we can actually collect the items in reverse. Normally you're not able to come this way from the back until you've come through here to the front.
Yep.
But going out of bounds lets you skip everything, so. Here's our power bomb check. The reason we need one is to grab this.
And that's the power bomb that any percent now gets in a very convoluted way.
Yep. It started out with getting it in the middle of the run, and then it evolved to getting that near the start of it.
Did you see that Firefly just take this charge shot?
Yeah, holy. Those guys are funny. They really do not like you shooting at them. They'll start flickering away.
Okay, so I think, yeah, now I
Yep.
just... Oh, wait, I did everything backwards.
Assuming
whatever.
without the wall crawl, yeah. So
just do it.
routing this part of Chozo is really complicated, depending on how you choose to tackle it. With this out-of-bounds method, it's actually faster to grab those items and then come back. So
I'm gonna give it one more,
yeah.
one more try. And then I'm just gonna go on the normal way. Yep. All right.
Yeah, so there's a invisible wall there that does block you off, but if you go far enough, just enough, by turning midair, you'll gain some speed, and you can just barely make it past it to get out of bounds. We didn't get it, but you could use that to skip that puzzle that we were talking about earlier. Normally you're supposed to break some blocks and use Morph Ball to get through that, but you can do a very swag method here of going in this corner and you actually using Boost Ball to slide in. Nicely done.
Are we gonna see infinite speed? No. Not in 100%.
Not yet, at least. Maybe one day. So we get to clean up the rest of Chozo here. This is normally the route you take at the beginning of the game to go get the missile launcher. You can't get any of these items on the way just yet. There's a fight in this next upcoming room called the Hive Mecha that you are normally supposed to fight to get the missile launcher. We even get its own cutscene for it, but in reality it's just another missile expansion.
Yeah.
That fight trigger is exclusive to the bridge that it's over, so if you just do not get close to the bridge, you'll just completely avoid it.
You can actually just walk along the whole bridge too, actually, because the whole edge of it doesn't have a trigger.
Yeah, so you can just barely walk across the edge and just avoid it that way too.
Should I get Vault before or after?
You're supposed to get it now. That's up to you. So again, routing this area is kind of complicated. I've never seen that happen before.
Me too, actually.
The thing. It always happens.
Yep.
But it never happens.
So this was the aforementioned puzzle that you could skip by going out of bounds. As you'll see by Edson doing it the intended way here, it's actually still very short.
I thought puzzles were slow.
Most of the time,
Not
yes.
all of them are slow. Yeah.
we will see at least one more puzzle skip later in the run while we're in this area.
Also, I already got Courtyard, so I'm just gonna go back to Wild.
Yep. So, now that we have the super missiles and the spider ball, we can go back through this room that we passed through after fighting Flagra and climb it again to get an artifact. And in the any percent and 21% speedruns, or 21% being low percent, you can do a trick called Early Wild, that allows you to wedge yourself in a little spot and bomb jump up to climb back up this room. You need to fall down a certain distance once in order for the room layer to change, so you can pick up that artifact. But in 100%, we have to come back through here anyways, so it's... unless you are extremely good, it is faster to come back here later. Especially with the super missiles, which make fighting these ghost enemies much quicker.
And super good is like basically perfect. I think my tasks only saved like 10 or 15 seconds.
Yeah, and these ghosts are really mean sometimes.
They are.
Yep. We do have one technique to speed it up. So with super missiles, after firing one, normally you're supposed to wait for a cooldown. However, you can pull up the scan visor and then return to your combat visor, which cancels the cooldown. And also wow, that was amazing.
That was pretty good, yeah.
Well, when the ghosts try to run away after you've hit them, there's a period of time where you can shoot them again with either a charge shot or a super, but it would have to be a charge shot for this case. And we call that technique ghost juggling. And with supers, you saw that was incredibly fast, but it's also very useful if you don't have supers and you have charge beam.
Yeah, that's what any percent does, is it just infinitely juggles the ghosts. That way you don't have to worry about waiting for them to appear.
Yep. Although in our world record route, you can actually get an item early that makes it so you never have to do that. So this gate here, we skipped earlier with a bomb jump. It's still there, but we can just kind of boost through and move through it. You know, walls are kind of just a suggestion, given that you're moving fast enough.
Yeah.
So we're also going to return to this area where we picked up the charge beam to clean up the checks that we left behind.
Also, earlier you mentioned powerbomb drops and whatnot. There's a few guaranteed drops that you're supposed to get when you're going through Chozo, and those shriek bats in Watery Hall Access there are guaranteed drops, and you need to get both.
They're a very useful source.
But it's only from the first one that you kill. The rest of them do not drop power bombs.
Yep. A little arbitrary, but it's Metroid Prime for you.
Yeah. There's actually quite a few instances where they do that, where it's like only the first one has a chance. It's the same for the power bomb drop for Thardus. In all those rooms.
Yep. Nice boost. So, now that we've cleaned up this part of Chozo, we're going to need to go into the further parts of it. The parts that we were briefly at when we picked up the ice beam early. Wow, I've never seen that. Jeez. Can you stop doing things I've never seen before?
I'll try.
So earlier when we did the ice beam before Flogger Wall Crawl, we passed a puzzle that you normally do after Zoid that locks a door. We still haven't done that puzzle, so that door is still locked. So we're going to go out of bounds here and get past that door lock. It's going to be very similar to the way we did Ice Beam before Flagra, with one minor difference that we'll see here in a bit. Oh, so close. So
that was one of those situations where my console didn't load quick enough.
Yeah, so what Edson was doing there was he was trying to get that room to load while he was in front of the door. However, because this game runs on a disc and old hardware is old hardware, quote unquote, the loads in this game can vary just randomly. And it can make certain tricks like that vary in ways that will mess up your gameplay. Generally, you wait like a second and a half-ish for that door to load. There we go, nicely done.
Yep.
To let that room load around you, but it can vary depending on how fast or slow your console decides to load.
And that one's just tricky since you have to be falling It's just super easy to just fall out of the room.
Yep. So normally you're supposed to reveal a half pipe that's below the ground and do some spider puzzles, but we can stand on a hole in the wall and climb up these spider tracks to grab this missile without having to do all that. Nice start the landing too.
I like these rooms. These rooms are really fun, done properly.
Yep.
Did I not? I didn't activate it?
Nope. So, normally you're supposed to jump into the hands of the statue and it throws you up to that spider track to use that bomb slot. But just a little standable on the wall and we can make it up there. Ooh, almost stuck the landing.
That's what I was trying to do, yeah.
So there are a couple of checks here. We're gonna have to sit through a few cutscenes. This game, or this room in particular, has quite a lot of cutscenes.
It's one of Retro's more overdeveloped rooms. They did a lot.
Oh yeah. I've mentioned that I'm in the randomizer scene, and someone made a lot of quality of life changes to cutscenes where you can skip them, even when you can't normally in vanilla. And they have nightmares about this room because editing it is an absolute nightmare and a hassle.
I can imagine, yeah. I've looked at it in Prime World Editor, and it is complicated.
Yep. Shoutouts to Prime World Editor, by the way. It's an extremely useful tool that lets you essentially see everything that the devs would be seeing. It allows you to directly edit practically everything in the game, and it's pretty accessible, all things considered.
Yeah.
All right, and there is our last item in Chozo.
Is that the last? Yeah, it is, huh?
Yep. So,
For some reason,
here
I always think of the other item, the missile, past that elevator there that I just went past as part of Chozo.
Oh, yeah. So, there are two main routes that are used that diverge at this point. One where you actually go through the elevator that Edson just mentioned, and another one where you go through where the path Edson is going. This route is actually kind of new, I think, and it involves a particular area that we're going to see later on.
In terms of 100%, yeah, it's a fairly new route. Because I think before that, the previous route was used for like 7-8 years or something.
Yep. Once again, we're going to stand on nothing there briefly.
JRP.
Speaking of, quick question. How popular is the 100% category compared to the any percent categories in this game?
That is a great question. And the answer is, so the any percent category has roughly 300 submissions, I believe. And the 100% has roughly 90 something.
Yeah.
So it's a lot less popular, mainly because of its length. However, I'd argue that it's a more friendly category, as there are less tricks that are risky of soft locking, because there's only one wall crawl that people would recommend, but doing it inbounds is not too shabby either. And if you're doing any percent inbounds, you have to do one trick that could kill a run, but in inbounds 100%, you don't have any of those.
Yeah,
That makes sense. And I would say 90 submissions for a 100% run at all is quite a lot.
Yeah. So here on Life Grove, Edson just a moment ago picked up the X-ray visor, which lets us see the aforementioned invisible platforms. But it is also, if you remember when we mentioned that it is required to pick up in low percent, we are going to need this for a very important boss fight. So normally you have to pick up this, the X-ray visor and that artifact. You're supposed to climb the room and fight some ghosts and walk a new path. However, you can just stand on that thing and do an R jump to escape anyway, escape and avoid all that nonsense. And another pretty infamous trick here we're going to do called bar skip. Normally you're not supposed to access this side. Wow, first try, nicely done. You're supposed to go through the frigate that is crash landed to reach the other side of that. However, there's a small gap that you can just barely bomb jump into. It's a pretty infamous trick because it's a very good test of your bomb jump technique. Getting it first try, even for experienced players, can be a little tricky sometimes. So it was really nicely done.
Yeah, you have to kind of control the morph ball just right because you can't get up there and then get into position. It kind of has to be one fluid motion with that bomb jump.
Right. So now we're in the phase on mines here. Routing this is a little complicated because of a particular requirement. There is an artifact in the upper portion of it that is locked by a little mini boss. However, that mini boss has a bit of an arbitrary requirement where you need to pick up something in the middle to lower-ish part of the mines in order for that boss fight to be accessible. So we have to route this with that in mind. So we activated a conduit to do that. As you notice, we didn't use the thermal visor. We don't have to. And you're supposed to use Spider Ball to get up that crane, but we can do a slope jump and make it up here. One thing that we're going to do here is lower this barrier here. However, we are not going to go through it. If you were to go through the back, you would still get blocked by that barrier. So we're going to lower that for now and then come back later with what we need. And then we don't have to worry about getting blocked by that barrier.
Yeah, because it's not like a typical wall. It's the force fields you cannot boost through, sadly.
Yep. Nice bomb boost, or whatever you want to call it there.
Yeah.
We're also going to dash there to skip needing grapple beam to obtain grapple beam. Normally you're supposed to do a pretty convoluted spider ball puzzle where you align tracks, but skipping that saves a whole lot of time. And now we're going to move on to the middle part of the mines. We've got a nice little cutscene here, or cutscene quote unquote, just riding the elevator. And everything is standable.
Even the edges of the elevators.
That's so nice of the developers.
Yep.
Just let you do what you want.
So we are going to move on to the lower part of the mines, which thankfully in 100% is pretty straightforward.
It's fairly simple, yeah.
So I did mention that everything is standable, and when I said everything, I do mean everything. Case in point, you can jump off the heads of those pirates.
You can actually stand on almost every enemy. It's quite funny.
Yep. And because we got power bombs early, we can grab this before we get the main power bombs.
That instant
Nice and
unmorph,
simple.
by the way, is consistent. You can do it every
Is
time
it?
if you do the right stuff, yeah.
I actually didn't know that. Oh yeah, that's right. Happy Pride Month.
What?
Happy Pride Month. my words did not word correctly there briefly.
That's all right. We know what you meant. Happy Pride Month.
So we can just pass by all those pirates in that room. They don't like us, but we don't really care about them. So this elite pirate here is pretty interesting because this guy only comes out of his little cage if you have the plasma beam. And it's the only inventory check in this game, I think.
For some reason I want to say that that's true, yeah.
So here is the powerbomb maze. This is one of the only other RNG parts of the run. There is a trick to skip having to do this, but it is quite difficult. Let's see if we can get it.
And also, Zoid did make this
Yep.
as well.
Oh, not quite. So yeah, this mazes in this game, there are 300 possible mazes.
Oh,
It can vary quite a bit with how many squares it requires you to go. I think it goes from 15 to 40 or 50 something.
it goes, there's 15 to 55, excluding 53.
Yep.
And there's only
And that
one
maze
55.
wasn't too bad. But the dead end did not. There's some
Yeah.
dead ends that can easily debate you.
All right, I am going to save here
Yep.
because I have a potential soft lock coming up.
Yep. There's a pretty important and infamous wall crawl coming up. I think that's another drop there that checks to see which order you got them in. So here we have lower mines. Because it requires you to have a lot of items for a lot of these areas, the movement here is going to be a little bit more complicated. In any percent especially, it can get pretty scary, but 100% does make it a little bit easier. Here's also when the powerbomb management is really important, because Phazon Mines has a lot of powerbomb requirements for items. So normally to cross this gap, you need to use X-ray to view some invisible platforms to cross, but you just do a well-timed dash up that Metroid there. Speaking of Metroids, these guys in this game are very annoying.
But we love creatures.
Yep.
There couldn't possibly be any creatures out to get us.
So earlier you were talking about how this game is learnable and accessible. So this room that I'm just leaving, MQA, that room took me over 5 hours to learn the first time I played this game.
Yep. That
And
room
now-
in particular is hard.
Yeah, and now, I just made it through it, no problem. So this is a very easily learnable game if you're willing to put the time in.
Yep. All right, so we got one more missile here to get, and then in the next room, we're going to do a bit of a complex secret world, or a way to get bounds. First, we need to deal with the Hunter Metroids, and then we're going to use an enemy that you're not really supposed to stand on, called the Glider. And it's kind of hard to explain, so I'm just going to shut up, let Edson do his thing.
Damn.
Just barely missed it. Okay. What Edson was trying to do there was to move backwards into the wall at a very specific time when the glider, which is that enemy we were riding, clips just barely into the wall. It's a very tight window, and it's dependent on where you're standing.
Of course.
Oof, yeah. You need to be standing on the very edge of it in order for this trick to work.
Yeah. It's surprisingly actually important that you are on the very edge.
Yeah, and in order to actually even reach the glider, you need to do a slope jump off the little mushrooms that are growing out of the wall. Oops. Oh, nice. I haven't seen that recovery strat before.
It's one of the originals.
I'm too much of a Metroid zoomer. No pun intended, to those who know.
This might work. There we go.
Nice. Okay. So, very tight window there, but we close and reopen the map to advance the frame slowly and then use the glider turning as an indicator of when to hold back. We do have various setups. Some even do it without the map, but the map does make it more consistent for others. So in this room now that we've transitioned to, called Phazon Mining Tunnel, lies the Artifact of Newborn. Before I continue talking about it, let's get this lineup. Oh, that was a little sketchy. Okay.
Yeah.
That is a soft lock potential. Okay, we're not quite out of the woods yet, but that is the first step. Checking for a specific lineup here.
Well, there's a way to check. You can know if you're going to soft lock. There we go.
Okay.
Yep.
Nicely done. Okay. That is a early newborn.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sigh of relief time.
Even if you don't know that trick, it gets you tense. And if you do know it, sometimes it gets you more tense.
Yeah.
So you are supposed to come back with an item that we're going to get here in a little bit. To get that, it saves more time to do that wall crawl to get it. However, it's arguably one of, if not the most precise wall crawls in this route. So definitely takes some practice, and pulling it off at all is a really, really huge accomplishment.
And on that same note, for the longest time, it used to be basically random. You either would or wouldn't soft lock. But not too long ago, Vertigo managed to find, using all of our resources, a setup that can help you guarantee you're not going to soft lock.
Yep. So the trick is more accessible than ever. So here we are at the Omega Pirate. Omega Pirate is a required boss regardless of what category you're doing. And thing is, to fight Omega Pirate, you have to have the X-ray visor. So we destroy the 4 armor plates on Omega Pirate. Now he's going to throw a temper tantrum, so he's going to summon his little friends. We don't like his friends, so we're going to blast them with our plasma beam. And now Omega Pirate wants to regenerate its armor plates, and it's going to do that by appearing in these pools. However, you can only see him, and more importantly, you can only damage him while X-ray is active, which is why we need to get this item. So we can do this without Omega Pirate regenerating its armor plates by using a combination of a couple of missiles and super missiles. You can also use power bombs and even plasma beam for this fight. However, they get more tight as you go down.
Just like that.
Yep, nicely done. With super missiles
fight.
Especially, it's very straightforward.
Yeah, it's not even a stressful fight, 100%. Kind of in the home stretch now. Just gonna finish up mines, get a couple of random items, and then the run's done.
This is marking near the end of cleanup. We only have a few things left to do in Phazon Mines. So this item right here, Phazon Suit, is completely required to beat the game, specifically because of a check that they do at the end for the final boss, if you may know. You need to damage the final boss with a specific beam, and the only way you can get that beam is if you have this suit. The final boss cannot be damaged through any other means. People have tried to find ways, and we have not found any sort of possibility. So we still have to find OP, or fight OP.
There is an inactive instant kill trigger right above the boss.
Yep.
So if someone solves Ace.
It is very much a tease. So if someone somehow solves some sort of ace for this game, might be able to exploit that. You know, if you want to be
actually-
known for breaking Metroid Prime history,
Yeah. That would be a crazy find.
yep. So there we just use another one of our power bombs. Optimally, we want to have, let's see, like 4 power bombs going into upper
5.
mines. 5.
I had
Nice.
7. So.
Cool. Yeah, so that pirate we triggered on the way in. We did not trigger on the way out. If you time your space jump just right, so at the peak of your height you move over it, you can actually avoid it, and you won't have to deal with them. Pirates are relatively easy to fight because in order for them to actually attack you, they need to directly face you for a short period of time. So if you just move to the side, they never will attack you. But obviously it is slow. So skipping it does save a good amount of time. So now we're going to route in these items that we skipped earlier because we were required to pick up the main power bombs in order to power bomb something so that we could trigger a fight for an artifact that we're going to see here in a second. First of all, we're going to say goodbye to Calvin, that power pirate there who just got blasted by a super missile, because we all hate Calvin. He is very, very mean.
Also, I'm curious, there isn't main power bombs. I can't remember. You said there was no other inventory checks. And is this an inventory check, or is it just checking that you've picked up
It's the item
central
itself.
dynamo? Okay. that's what I thought.
It's not an inventory check. It's like the
That you got central
pickup
dynamo.
maze.
Yeah.
Yep. It's actually notable because in the randomizer they make a change so that you have to you can change it so that it doesn't check for it. So it's this fight in particular. In order to blow that up, you need to have gotten the main power bomb pickup or just that item in that room. This guy, once again, like the other ones, needs to face you in order to actually attack you. So 24 missiles and he goes down.
And it might, it's a little counterintuitive to kill Calvin at the top of this room. However, he can actually also trigger Pirate's AI and could make that pirate start attacking me, which then 24 missiles, it's not that simple anymore.
Yep. The pirates aren't even really meant to fall down, but the AI in this game is kind of funky. Sometimes pirates will even wave dash and just go absurd speeds. You know, pull a book out of Melee. So this room we actually have to be a little bit careful in because you're supposed to come through the front, and this game doesn't make any sort of checks for you coming through the back of this room. So there's a particular door that gets locked as soon as you go into it, and you need to take out those purple wave pirates in order to unlock it. However, it only locks if you've approached it like so. There we go. That locks the door. Now, if you had taken out those wave pirates before reaching that door, it would not ever unlock the door, and you would be stuck in that room.
Yeah, it's one of the very many possible soft locks.
Yep. So now we're watching this cutscene again, but the wave pirates on there. You can trigger this cutscene by hitting a trigger, or you can also trigger it by taking out all 3 of those shadow pirates. So you can actually overlap the 2 cutscenes together of picking up the item and seeing those wave pirates appear after they've, already appeared. Here's also one of the first and only uses of Wave Buster in this run.
They like to troll you sometimes and just spread all around this room.
Yep. And here is our last powerbomb requirement for pickup, and that is the last item in Phase on Mines.
Yeah, never gonna be here again. Now it's just Talon. Actually, just Talon.
Yep. So as mentioned before, there was a bit of a deviation between 2 routes about whether or not to go to Talon Overworld through one side or the other. And the difference is that it depends on which way you want to go through the Frigate Orpheon. We're going through the back, and the thing is about going through the back is that every single room works perfectly fine. It lets you go through them from the back, except for one that we'll see later. So we got 3 checks to tackle here. Start with Hydroaxis Tunnel. Oops. The bomb timing here is a little funky. There's only 2 rooms that have these physics.
Yeah, it's always weird. And this room's not even water physics. You're just like going up.
Yeah. Fun fact: if you ever go in there without gravity suit, your gravity essentially flips, and it'll actually push you up towards the ceiling.
I've done that in a rando before.
Oh yeah. If you are in a rando and you do go in there without gravity suit, you can actually traverse it using wall boosts.
Oh, yeah.
So that room that Edgen just passed is our first benefit. Part of the reason that this route is faster is that you do not need to activate any of the conduits that unlock doors in this room. Because it's crashed, a lot of the doors aren't functioning, and you need to power them using Wave Beam. Yep, thank you for sharing. You saw it right there. However, you can just go through the back, and the doors that need to be activated aren't a problem, except for one. So it is much faster. There's our final tank.
It was like over a minute, or almost a minute it saves, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And also, a lot of the rooms you're traversing tend to be faster when you're going through the back.
Even this room, which is slower, is still faster, kind of. Like, you don't have to hit those puzzles, and it's easier, so it ends up being faster.
Yep. So, the one thermal conduit we can't skip is this one upcoming, because this door is a little different compared to the other ones. So, in order to skip it, we need to take advantage of a hole in the ceiling. We need to do something called... Wow, nice. UBJ, or also known as like an Uber bomb jump, that takes advantage of the bomb timer and lets us lay 5 bombs in a row. We can activate this conduit out of bounds by shooting at a particular spot.
I don't have game sounds, so I don't know if I hit that.
I think you did.
Yep.
Yep, we're good. That lets you open that door. Because of its unique properties, you have to activate that conduit in order for it to open. But thankfully, there are 2 very convenient holes in the ceiling that let us go out of bounds very briefly and then just roll right back in. One thing about this route that has always plagued me is that I've almost always forgotten, or there were a lot of runs where I've forgotten to get the check that's up here.
That was the slowest.
That slope is very funny.
What? Oh my god.
These pirates.
The firing squad.
Yeah, actually, holy moly. SEAL Team 6 is trying to stop you from getting up there. So yeah, there's one missile that's out of the way here. And the other route that you could do, you just get this on the way, so you won't ever have to worry about it. We can fall down there to grab this missile.
The second shot made that. Oh, that's cool.
And
right,
now, very poetically, one of the last pickups you get is in the room that you start in. Our beloved landing site missile.
It's the last actual item you get. The artifact is technically the last.
And thankfully, because the ship refills our missiles and power bombs, we can save them up for the final bosses.
Nice. I actually got 100%.
Nice. Just did a very long dash there called Ship Dash. Pretty tough to do, but if you can pull it off, that means you have good dash technique. And while it does save a little bit of time, more importantly, it just looks pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's fun. The movement tech is all fun. That's a big reason I like it.
Alright, so normally you come into this big room artifact temple before you get all the artifacts to scan the totems and get some hints on where they are. Because we already knew where they were, we're coming here before doing any of that. This is the last artifact and last item we pick up. That's just chilling here. There we go, 100% of all pickups. And now Ridley decides to show up now. Remember that guy? He's from Metroid, right?
I think so.
Yeah, he's a creature, right?
Yeah, Ridley definitely counts.
Yeah.
Just because he's big and smart doesn't mean he can't be a creature, right?
I was one frame early.
Ooh,
I should have tried.
yeah.
I didn't want to pause buffer because of the lag. So.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought it might have worked.
What Edson was trying to do there was set up a frame-perfect trick called flyby skip that prevents Ridley from doing this big flyby around the arena. He was just slightly off. We do have setups for it, but they're a little tricky. Also, we just boosted into Ridley, and there goes 3/4 of its health. Because boost does, like, what, 50,000 damage per frame?
Yes, 50,000 damage per frame. And Ridley only has, I think, like 11,000 health, or no, like 1,000 health or something.
Yep. But the damage gets capped at this ground phase here, so we're going to need to do it the old-fashioned way, an old-fashioned scrap. Combination of missiles and some power pellets here and there.
Also, it technically it's not capped. The ground phase is just actually not weak to boost ball. They remembered to turn that on for ground, but not air phase.
That's funny. I never knew that.
Yeah.
And there we go. The bird is down. And remember the Chozo? They're important. They're like, hey, we don't like this bird guy. Get off our lawn. And there he goes. And I'm sure he's gone. He's gone for good this time. We'll never see him another game. He's dead, guys.
Yeah.
That's Ridley. Over. Metroid. Roll credits. Now Chozo are here like, oh yeah, hey, thanks for doing all this stuff. Please come down here and take out this big tentacle monster.
As if you didn't already do enough, Samus.
Yeah. The Chozo like her. She is kind of a bird. She's half bird, half not bird. But in the lore, you're supposed to grab those artifacts to break the seals so you can access this impact crater from a meteor that struck the planet and spread phazon everywhere.
Which, if you know anything about the lore of this game, is the same meteorites that are in Prime 3.
And also Prime 2. It hit Aether as well.
Yep.
Except in Aether, they got a cool Link to the Past style Dark Lord.
Yeah, well, because I think it like split the planet basically or something.
Yep. In Prime,
also,
we just get the nightmare fuel that is this. So here's the final boss of Metroid Prime, aptly named Metroid Prime. This is also an RNG boss or RNG segment of this game, in the speedrun. However, with 100%, having all items kind of trivializes it. We can use super combos, especially with our beams, to just absolutely melt through its health. The beams that it has is weak to always vary. During the first sub-chamber, and it progressively falls into them, it only starts with power and wave. It can be either of those two. For the second one, it can be power, wave, and ice, and can start with any of them. Okay, it's power. That's not too shabby. In the next sub-chamber, it'll be power, wave, ice, and plasma. And then in the final one, it'll swap between all of them at will. That's definitely the most RNG-heavy part of it. There are also periods of time where you can turn around, or while Exo is turning around, the exoskeleton, that you can shoot it. Also, those orbs that it fires are really mean. Puts you in a lot of hit stun.
Yeah, more hit stun than I was used to.
Yeah, they're kind of insane. All right, now we're on the last one. Ironically, in 100%, the beam that you want to see is a beam that you tend not to want to see in any percent and low percent, which is power beam, because super missiles are extremely potent. And the thing about super missiles is that when Exo is turning around, you get a chance to shoot at it twice. If you can fit a super missile and a power beam shot, or a power beam charge shot, it'll completely skip the next phase, which I think you should be able to do right here.
Yep.
There we go. And we're also going to see the same
point,
thing, this beam combo.
Yeah, at some point, it was spread around, that ice spreader was slower, and that's just false.
Yeah. Some people think if you're epic and hit all the shots without ice spreader, you'll be faster, but you don't need to. I also did not know you could use Wave Buster like that while Exo was turning around.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
You can end the phase the same way as Ice Beam, but you only have enough missiles to do that about 2 times. So you really don't want to get Wave on sub 4 like this.
Yep. Thing is with super missiles is that it is very ammunition efficient in the sense that your damage per each missile is very, very strong compared to every other beam combo, which is pretty poor. Ice Spreader is the second best, Wave Buster is probably the third best, and Flamethrower is the worst.
Can you stop it with the Deli Boppers?
What is a Deli Bopper?
It's just a little name for them.
Oh, the...
Oh, thank you.
Oh. So, as mentioned before, Exo can swap between any of the beams that it wants, and it can also swap to them even before you damage it to its next phase.
I missed.
Oops. There is a method of standing next to its claws that cause it to do this melee swoop. Sometimes the spot for it can be a little risky because you may get hit by them. Nice shot.
Well, that was pretty cool.
Nice. All right. And that's Exoskeleton down. Now we're on to the final boss. Before I mentioned that the Phazon Suit and Omega Pirate are completely required to beat the game, and that's because of this boss fight right here. This is the Metroid Prime Essence. We just shattered its exoskeleton, and now we're going to deal with it. We can't actually damage it with anything that we have right now, but it goes through a set of animations until it lays a pool, where we can stand in it, and we get access to a beam that can damage it. The thing is that we want to optimize how much we're putting out. And the thing is about Essence is that every single time you hit it, it cancels its current animation. So if we shoot the Phazon beam that we get from standing in this pool, after Essence stops its damage animation, it'll cycle through each animation. It'll get quicker to the animation of it laying a pool. So that way we can get damage output, or we can increase our damage output significantly. And we're going to do that for one more pool here. And time is going to be coming up here in a bit, so get ready for that. There we go, there's pool number 3. So now we are going to do a technique called pool canceling, where we get the beam from the pool and we step out of it, and it doesn't actually drain the pool when we fire. And almost time. And time.
Nice, GG.
Yeah, that was the Metroid Prime fight. It was a pretty solid run.
Yeah, minus Hope.
Yeah,
that was
minus that wall roll.
We got through it. That's what matters. It was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you both so much.
Yeah,
and
you.
I'm sure the audience would love to see more of both of you, so let them know where to find you.
I'm pretty much only on Twitch. I think, yeah, it's on streams. It's in 13. I have the numbers, unfortunately. But that's the only place that I really have things.
13.
Yep.
Yeah. You can also find me on twitch.tv/Samuel6710. I also have a YouTube channel that I upload a lot of VODs to, youtube.com/@actuallySamuel6710. Yep. Besides that, I'd recommend checking out the speedrunning Discord. You can find it if you go to this game's speedrun.com page. And you can learn how to speedrun this game. It's really fun.
Oh yeah, and everyone is more than willing to help learn, give information. You know, it's fun to watch people play this game.
You have no idea how often I probed Edson for information when I was first learning this game.
Yes.
So yeah.
Thanks for having me here. It was fun to play this game. 200%. I think the in-game time will be here in just a few seconds, and that's it.
Yeah. I'm going to guess that the IGT, 116? Another 116? That'd be funny.
I don't think so. I remember it took a while.
That's true.
I'm honestly going to say 118, 119.
Okay. Calculating the IGT in your head can be a little complicated.
Yeah.
Classic spaceship flyover.
Yep.
Metroid moment.
This IGT is actually accurate to the frame, but it only shows you it in hours and minutes.
Oh. Yep. Oh, it took a while.
It did take a while. That's still a pretty good run, all things considered.
Otherwise, though. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's still like a top 15 run.
Yeah.
It says a lot about the skill ceiling of this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
thank you both for being on. That was absolutely wonderful. It's really cool to see a game 100%ed, and especially such a tech-heavy and execution-heavy game such as Metroid Prime. And yeah, you did a great job. We are going to be back really, really soon with another game. We've got The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, but before we go to the break, I'd like to thank everybody supporting GDQ Hotfix with your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits. Your contributions help keep our shows running. If you're enjoying the stream, consider subscribing for exclusive emotes, ad-free viewing, and access to chat during replays. You can also always support the stream by sharing the Games Done Quick channel with your friends. Don't go anywhere. We've got some Twilight Princess coming to you very shortly. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Creature Corner. We're going to be continuing our little, as I like to call it, in Nintendo's kind of like grunge era when the GameCube came out. It's, you know, they sort of experimented with some fun aesthetics, and we're doing some of those games tonight. We did Metroid Prime, and we're gonna be doing The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess really, really soon. But before we get into that, I'm sure y'all love Hotfix because you're here. So if you're looking to get more involved with the GDQ community, you can join the official Games Done Quick Discord and add the Hotfix role to stay in the loop on upcoming events, chat with staff, and more. Use !Discord in Twitch chat for an invite and more information. And I am also here to supply you with more information about this upcoming run. It's Badamja, it's Goron Mines RTA, it's The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Awoo? Take it away.
How's it going, guys? My name is Badamja, and I'm going to be speedrunning The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. And I'm going to be running a category called Goron Mines RTA. And basically what this category is you start from a new file, and we get into Goron Mines as fast as possible. And basically just try to beat Goron Mines as quickly as we can. So yeah, I'm here with my commentators, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Morgan. I'm Morgan. I speedrun this game usually on GameCube. I've done mostly 90%. I've done a little bit of all dungeons and the infamous low percent category. Kind of been taking a break from the game recently, but slowly getting back into it. Great to be here today with all of you.
Yeah, I'm Madeline. I speedrun 90% on GameCube.
Yeah, sweet. All right, so I'll go ahead and get started. All right, okay. I'm gonna start making a new file. I could do a custom name, but unfortunately, with a trick that we're going to be doing a minute into the run, it's actually going to reset our file names. So we can't reap any benefits of any custom names, unfortunately. So gonna start out with the defaults. And yeah, do you guys want to say anything, or are we ready?
Let's go.
Yeah, we can talk more during the run, I think.
All right, sounds good. I'm gonna count down 3, 2, 1, then we're gonna get started. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yep, this is going to start like most Twilight Princess runs. We're, instead of talking to Fado, we're going to go left on the Wii version and pick up the rock. We are on the Wii version and not the GameCube version. It's mostly the same. The main differences are it's widescreen and everything in the game world is mirrored. I suppose we're on the game version because it's the one that Badamja is very good at. He's the current world record holder by several minutes, and so far the only person to beat Wii any percent in under 3 hours. Hopefully the skate clip goes well. It didn't. That happens a lot. This can be kind of frustrating. There we go. Now what we're going to do here is a trick called Back in Time. Probably some of you have heard about this. We're resetting the console and voiding on the same frame to gain control of Link on the title screen. We void out again, we'll be able to make a save here. And when we reload that save, we'll be put in Farron Woods, and we'll have a few items and story flags that'll be important later. We'll get the hero's clothes, which is largely irrelevant. We'll get the Orden sword, which is somewhat useful. And we will get the flag for having tamed Epona after clearing Elden Twilight, a thing that we are not going to do in this run, which will be very useful a few minutes later. But first, we have to run some errands.
I want to answer a question in chat. Someone asked, between the GameCube Wii and Wii U version, which is the fastest? Technically, out of those, the fastest would be, for this category, the Wii version played on the Wii U. But I'm just playing it on a Wii. The difference in load times is very negligible between them. But the Wii version specifically, Wii 1.0, which Badamja is running, has some glitches that will come up later that save a lot of time in this category over the GameCube version. And if you have any other questions in chat, like, feel free to ask them. We love to talk about this game.
Yeah, to clarify
I thought as of the reroute there was only one Wii-specific glitch.
Yeah, the route is exactly the same on Wii and GameCube, except for there's some minor differences. Like, as you can see, you might have been able to see that I actually reset my game before saving during Back in Time. That's only on the Wii version. A few minor things like that. I didn't roll in bit after doing Back in Time. If you see the GameCube version, they start rolling immediately upon gaining control of Link.
Right.
If I try to do that,
If you try that on Wii, it crashes.
Exactly, it crashed, and that is actually going to pose a problem later because we're going to be doing Back in Time again, and I'm going to need to press A, and I'm going to have to figure out how to do that without crashing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more when we get there. It's strange for this category that Wii is the fastest console. For most categories, GameCube is faster because of glitch availability, but that actually won't really come up in this round, as we'll discuss when we get to it.
And Wii in general is just faster, has faster loads and less lag than the GameCube version.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyways, we've gotten the small key in North Farron Woods, and we're going to go through to save Tallow. As a low percent runner, I'm contractually obligated to inform you that there is another way to get through that gate. It just takes about an hour and 13 minutes, which is, longer than the estimate, so we won't be doing it.
And I'm going to jump attack into this cutscene trigger just to get a little bit more distance, because when you're in the air, maintain your momentum after entering a cutscene. Save about a second doing that. I'm going to try my best with these rolls up the slope. Unfortunately, I messed up a little bit and dropped a roll. And how this game works is if you're rolling up a slope and you chain them, you're good. But if you miss a roll by a few frames, then every roll after that on the slope is going to be slower. So chaining rolls is very important.
Yep, and Madeline, you could probably talk a little more about roll chaining here.
Yeah, in a bit. There's a bunch of stuff coming up for that. There's a lot of different techniques to getting up to full roll speed quickly, and then after that, it's a lot about just maintaining that full speed. And as Badanch mentioned, it's kind of hard to do on slopes because even dropping a roll by like 1 frame means you'll never be able to get back up to the full speed you were once at until you clear the slope.
Anyways, continuing the chores here, we've got to herd the goats. We skip a lot of bumbling around in Orden Village by doing that gate clip and the back in time save, but we can't skip this.
Goats are a bit
RNG. Have to herd the goats.
Not too RNG. They always start in the same spot, but they kind of react to you differently each time. They have a different notice radius and a different speed they run at when they notice you. So a lot of goats is kind of playing reaction, but we have a somewhat consistent way of going around them, get them in 23 seconds as Badanch, which is a pretty good time.
Pretty good.
Yeah, especially considering that one that was a little bit uncooperative. That's very good.
Only one Howard. We call those Howards when we have uncooperative goats. But honestly, not too bad. It could go a lot worse than that.
So the RTA record is 15. So.
Yep.
Yeah, almost sub 15 is really good, really optimized. But
anyway, since the game thinks that we have tamed Epona after beating Elden Twilight, we can actually now go right into Bo's house and get the iron boots. You'll notice that this cutscene talking to Bo is a little strange. We have to explicitly talk to Bo for every line of dialogue. This is actually relevant to the recent Goron Mines RTA reroute we were talking about. Do I want to explain that now? Do we want to explain that later? It's probably better to explain that later.
We can explain it like maybe Master Sword cutscene. Something like Goron Twilight. Yeah, so cutscene's a little broken, but we still can advance all the text. And I'm going to say yes to enter the fight, but then I'm going to say no when he asks me if I want to know the rules. So,
we already know the rules. He's done this before, you know.
So this is basically weighted rock, paper, scissors. It is pure RNG. Nothing you can do to make it less RNG. So the fastest thing to go for here is a slap. You have a 50% chance of getting a slap on this first one.
Okay. Not great, but not the worst RNG. A lot worse than that.
Yep.
And we have to beat him twice. I'm gonna have to fight him again. Hope the second phase goes well.
And to push him off in one cycle, you gotta mash at 11 hertz, which is very hard to do on a Wiimote.
Yeah,
it's very hard. It's not easy to do on a GameCube controller.
That's true. Yeah,
it's even harder on a Wii remote.
Yeah, not the greatest RNG. Yeah, it's hard to do on a Wiimote just because the controller shape is a little bit awkward, and where the button is too.
And the A button is just a little bit more resistant as well.
Yeah. So not the greatest RNG, but also not the worst.
Yeah, it can go way worse than that. You can lose like minutes in this.
Yeah.
You can lose to Bo if you're lucky enough. Yeah, we've got the iron boots. As I said, previous versions of this route would actually delay the iron boots. They needed it to get into Goron Mines later, but we have a different way of doing that now.
I'm going to open this door on the left because it is almost a second faster on the walking out of the house animation. Just a fun fact about most of the double doors in this game.
That's one you can try out at home, I'm sure. Just walk through the right door. It's that easy.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sure all of you knew this 50 rupees was
kind of cool side hop here. You didn't get it? Oh, damn.
You've made me look bad.
Yeah, there actually is no rupee there.
Yeah,
we were mistaken. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, that one can be a little bit finicky.
I forget what the vanilla where you're supposed to get that is. It's not like that.
You take a cucco or something?
Yeah, it must be.
The one use of the side hop slash in any category.
That might be true.
Yeah, as you notice, I actually didn't get any rupee text from the rupee there. And that is because I collected it in midair. That's why I did that side hop slash. Like the safer way is you just spin the grass and get the rupee. But in an effort to save a few seconds and not get the text at all, I side hopped and collected the rupee midair.
Also, that one rupee you just picked up is the only unavoidable rupee in the game.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's true. Anyways, that's the hole that turns you into a wolf. Very plot important cutscene coming up. We'll want to make sure to watch all of that to ensure that we know what's happening. Yeah, no.
Right, it's a really cool trick.
You can skip like most of the cutscenes in this game.
It's called Box Breaker. This cutscene, when it ends, it releases you from the chain. So if you time like a perfect B attack, you can break the box before the cutscene ends, and it saves like 3 frames or so on entering the hole.
Yep.
Yep.
Then there's a spin attack here for swag.
Did get that.
No swag.
Yep, that is 1 frame where you can input a spin attack and it does nothing.
So yeah, Wolf moves pretty fast actually, very slightly faster than top roll speed. When you are at a
And
full
if I
dash.
try to enter the cutscene on the left. Ooh, I got it.
Nice.
Fast cutscene.
It's a
that was
relatively
pretty
rare
finicky.
time save, yeah.
Yeah. I believe if you enter that cutscene in just the right spot, the game thinks you're on the ground, so it plays that cutscene a little bit early and stays about half a second.
Yeah, there's like one spot where you can be in the cutscene trigger, but still on the ground of that like upstairs ledge there, and it starts it.
Oh, Squeeble. So there's a cool tech coming up after this chain pull. So the damage is going to dash and then B attack immediately, and that serves 2 purposes. 1, the B attack makes him jump less height, so he hits the ground sooner. And 2, the B attack actually cancels the dash if you input it right after the dash input. And it'll basically allow him to dash immediately again when he hits the ground. It'll get rid of the cooldown that would normally be there before you could dash again. That's really good actually, because like normally when you hit the ground after like a jump as Wolf, you're going to be walking really slowly until you can dash again. So if you're doing, it's called a dash cancel. Anytime that sort of situation comes up where you're going off a ledge, you'll be saving a lot of time on the movement. Nice.
Yep, and we saw him try to avoid landing in the water there to skip that text box, but didn't quite make it.
Yeah, I didn't quite get it. Okay, that one's a little bit precise. Basically, there's a kind of a rectangular trigger there that I try to hit, and if you hit that, Midna thinks that you've already fallen in the water, and so she'll let you do the Midna jumps next time you come around. But I did miss it, unfortunately, and fell in the water. Now here,
Thankfully, the text box doesn't take very long.
I missed it.
So every single Midna jump where there's Midna text before the jump, there's 1 frame where you can input the Midna jump and do it before she moves out to the spot. There's also another 1 framer right there. He skipped the cutscene and immediately jump attacked, and that saves about like a second and a half or so probably.
Yep, Twilight Princess is pretty much full of those. Some of them save more or less time. There's one in Fair and Twilight that we'll have that I think saves several seconds if you get it. It's a really slow animation.
So here he's been timing his dashes so that he dashes off the very edge of a ledge, which also does the dash cancel. If you immediately dash into like a jump like that, you'll immediately have a dash again when you hit the ground.
It looks like he did get that last framer.
Yep. And that goes a lot better than it does sometimes. Sometimes those card rocks really just get in your way. Make it really hard to enter that area. That wasn't too bad. Alright, next up we're going to be doing a trick called sword and shield skip, and I'll let Madeline explain that one.
Sure, yeah, this trick is kind of notorious. It scares people away from speedrunning Twilight Princess sometimes, but it's not that bad. It's pretty hard though. It takes a lot of time to learn it. Basically, we want to get into Farron, but Midna is like, no, you do not go into Farron until you have the sword and the shield. Now, if you have a keen eye, you may see the sword and the shield currently on our back. So you may wonder why we have to do this at all. Well, they may be on our back, but they are not in our inventory. We only have them because we did Back in Time earlier. And Back in Time equips the items, but they do not appear in your inventory, so Midna thinks you don't have them at all. So...
yeah, and also the relevant story flags in Orden haven't been set.
Yeah. So we're basically luring this Boblin over here. We named him Hugo, and we're going to get him into a very precise spot, and then we're going to attack him, send him flying in the air with that attack, and then attack him again while he's flying in the air. And because he is so high up above us, when you're targeting something much higher than you, the speed of your jump attack gets raised by a lot. It's a tech called a long jump attack. So we'll be jumping over the trigger where Midna sends us back because we don't have the sword and the shield, and we'll be instead hitting an air trigger that lets us into the Twilight, as he just did first try. That was very fast, actually.
Yep,
that was
nice,
really good.
Very nice. Yep. answer the chat question, in this case, this is not a full game speedrun. The full game takes around 3 hours, which is more time than we have. In this category, we're just trying to beat Goron Mines. That's usually the second dungeon, although the only dungeon that we will finish.
Yeah, there is a little bit of RNG with Hugo, but it wasn't too bad. There's some RNG with where he spawns and which direction he's looking, as well as when he's doing his attacking animation. So as you can see, the hardest part of the trick wasn't actually the jump attack itself. The hardest part was pushing Hugo into the right spot. It's kind of unintuitive, but you kind of get a feel for it over time. So yeah, that one didn't go too bad, so I'm grateful for that. Now I'm going to do this scripted fight where you have a scripted failure. You can actually beat this fight even though you're supposed to lose it one time, but that soft locks you, so I'm not going to be doing that.
Yep, that would prevent us from running the bend charge attack, which I think technically wouldn't be required to finish this category, but we're going to need it for a glitch later.
Also, skipping the fight is kind of slow.
Yeah. It's faster than doing the fight, but we'd lose time elsewhere. Anyways, now we're going to talk to the Light Spirit Farron and master a bunch of dialogue.
Once I get the map pop up, I'm going to press a button to close the map instead of pressing B repeatedly.
Crazy half-second time saves all over the place.
I mean, that's how the game is. Nice double B attack. Nice.
He's not going to fight the tears.
That's actually, that's way harder than it looks.
Yeah, so I didn't actually
attacking that bug with the charge can be annoying.
I didn't end up getting the tears there, and that is because if I try to get them right away, it wouldn't work, because there is about 3 seconds before the tears become collectible. So it's actually faster to get them a little bit later. And if I turn off senses right before killing those bugs, usually a cutscene where Poro is like, "Oh, where'd the bugs go?" plays, but turn off the senses at just the right time. Doesn't play.
Nice ledge grab. Yep, and we're just going to side hop down and grab that tier because we won't be coming back to this area.
Yep. And you can actually skip that gate with a gate clip, but it's pretty precise and it barely saves time if it goes really well.
Yep, you can see that in high-level Master Sword RTA speedruns, because that's short enough that people do optimize to that level.
You can also dash before that dig spot, but it is not worth it. You will bonk like every time.
Yeah.
Saves 1 frame if you do it perfectly.
Nice first frame dash out of the dig spot.
Just like with the minute jumps.
Another 1 framer
just
here.
1 frame after a dig spot.
It skips a short animation of Minda landing and being like, oh no. Yeah, that bug can be uncooperative.
Nice. There's another 1 framer right there you just got.
Yeah, that's the big one, because Minda moves a long distance on that first jump. Should be able to tag all 3 of these bugs with the same charge here. Some runners will actually try to push the bugs closer to each other to save a tiny bit of time, but it's fiddly.
Yeah, and even if you get here pretty fast, you usually still have to wait for this swinging log cycle. Like, I got a good lineup though. And you're going to see 2 bugs here. I'm actually going to ignore these bugs because they dig underground. Oops. Oh, Forest Temple ahead. Oh, that's where it is.
TP Forest Temple.
Yep. All right, now I'm going to be doing a trick called Early Master Sword.
You'll never guess what that does.
Yeah.
So when the Shadow Beast here raises his hand, we can target a spot that's pretty high above us and jump up onto this ledge. And it just so happens that out of bounds over here, well, it's actually inbounds because it's just the Sacred Grove is always loaded in Farron Woods right there.
Now it's just a cozy exploration game where we run through the countryside.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
With lots of movement tech.
Yeah, you saw Bonanza actually did that on the side that's closer to the entrance to the North Farron Arena there, which is a little faster but a little more difficult.
Grove is about mostly taking good lines. There's a couple of specific time saves in it, but Grove is usually pretty consistent. You're just there's a quick climb there. If you climb at a certain angle, you'll kind of clip out of bounds during the animation, and it will skip the climbing animation.
Yep.
Then there's another dash cancel here. Good. Or do you normally be attack on the ground there?
Yeah, I normally don't dash cancel there. It might be faster. I'm pretty sure the task just dashes though, if I remember correctly.
Interesting.
So I just copy that, yeah. And I'm going to go over the water over here, and then right here, I'm going to attack him from a very specific position, or end up at a specific position such that when I dash off this ledge, I am not actually going to land in the water. I'm going to go straight in the land if I time it right. Like that.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, one other thing to mention is that the route we take through Farron Woods actually really changes between different routes and different categories. Sometimes, in a glitchless run, you'd actually be getting all of the tiers on the first pass. Some other categories don't have to beat Fair and Twilight at all. They use some other glitches to escape Fair and Twilight. In this case, we actually don't really need to do Fair and Twilight except to set up one trick that we'll do later.
So he just attacked that guy, skull hit at a specific angle so that he can land on the ground during this cutscene, and that saves time after the cutscene from getting down there.
Yeah, usually you're just at the top and you have to walk off and grab the ledge. But since you're midair, it doesn't stop your momentum. So I just fall all the way to the ground, saves 2 seconds.
Yep, and we can skip that cutscene to get an early hit on Skull Kid.
Yep. And then, so Skull Kid blows his horn, but he doesn't do that until I've killed at least one puppet. So I'm going to kill a puppet as fast as I can, and then about 5 seconds after the puppet explodes, which is RNG, which is how fast it takes after killing the puppet. Kind of a strange thing for that's RNG, but it is RNG. And I'm going to keep doing that one more time. I will be needing rupees, so I'll try to be getting greens where I can. Yeah, Sacred Grove is one of the more consistent splits in this category. Coming up, we'll have some more difficult stuff. Hopefully I can hold it together.
Yep. I'm sure all of you know that there are 20 rupees in the stake spot. We will, I believe, need 100 in total.
Big Damage does not forget Zelda's Lullaby. Nice.
I would never.
Funny thing about this puzzle is that it's a mirror image, so that there's two solutions that are optimal, and you can just mirror every left-right input, which is convenient for Wii players because when they switch between Wii and GameCube, they can just do the same inputs.
Or you can be like me and pick going left or right depending on how you feel every run.
Yeah,
you can also see on the jumps there are 2 frames to input the sense button, which does nothing.
It definitely does swag.
It does do that. Yeah, I didn't get all 12, unfortunately. Oh, I missed another one.
All 12 is just legendary. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone do it live.
I've gone it
Anno
once.
probably
Done it
has.
once. All right.
Yeah, this is a 10 out of 12 run, I believe.
Hopefully he doesn't dash past the Master Sword here. Many people do this. Oh, I should not have said anything.
Oh, no. Masorda.
That's my bad, but Andrew, that's my bad.
Yeah, we have a name for that. It's called Masorda, and Madeline manifested it by saying that.
Yeah, my bad.
Anyways, we have, I believe this is the only really long cutscene of the Goron Mines RTA run.
Yes,
It's one of the longest cutscenes, one of the longest unskippable cutscenes in the game. It's like a couple minutes.
Yeah, so having the Master Sword early is, one, the damage will be very useful. But the main reason we get this is for the ability to transform and warp. That's going to be very useful for a few things coming up here.
An interesting thing about this cutscene is it's using a wide variety of glitches. It's actually possible to get to the Master Sword while Link is still wearing the Orden clothes, like as human. And unfortunately, if you pull the Master Sword in that state, the game will crash because it tries to put Link in the hero's clothes here. and changing, for whatever reason, the game just can't handle changing Link's outfit before he has unlocked the hero's clothes. Normally, you'd be coming here right after beating Lakebed Temple, and you'd be wearing the Zora armor, but the devs were like, it looks bad if Link is in the fish suit during this, central plot important cutscene, so they, do something about that. Unfortunately, that every now and again, somebody will come to the Discord with some neat extended category routing idea, and we have to explain to them that no, the Master Sword Orden Clothes crash breaks that. However, in the Moon Jump run, which uses a cheat code to allow Link to jump whenever he wants, we pick up the Master Sword as human, but with the hero's clothes, which makes the cutscene look silly. You should look it up if you have the time.
Yeah, so now once we have the Master Sword, we're going to warp back to Farron, and now we're going to collect these tiers that we didn't get the first time. And we're going to collect all of the tiers except for the last two, because we're going to want to collect those last two later, and are instead going to enter Forest Temple.
Yep, when we pick up the last two tiers, it will actually warp us back to the start of Farron Woods. Obviously, we're going to the Forest Temple right now. We don't want to be warped back to the start of Farron Woods. We'll do that later when it's convenient for us.
We're only here for one thing.
Yep. And it's definitely the thing that you think it is.
The one framer?
Yep. No one frame dash there. We did get that little animation of Minda landing on Link's back.
Yeah.
So since we have the Master Sword, we can transform here.
Yep. Usually you're supposed to get the monkey. The monkey takes your lantern, and then you have to wait for the monkey to escort you through this purple mist. But like Morgan was saying, since we have the Master Sword, we can just transform and then get through it ourselves.
Yep, and that's useful because the monkey wouldn't otherwise appear until we complete the Twilight. 10 rupees behind the sign here.
Can you guess what we need in the Forest Temple? You probably can't.
What we need in the Forest Temple is 5 rupees.
I don't actually need this portal. So I'm going to do the same trick as before. It gives me a good swing.
Nice.
Yep, that's just a little faster than defeating the Shadow Beasts normally. Technically, I think it still saves time in the normal 90% route, but most people don't go for it because it saves a very small amount of time.
The Wii route does need the portal.
Yeah, the Wii route needs it.
It's not the boomerang, and it's not a heart piece.
As you can see, I went into first person before transforming there, and that just saves about 8 frames on the camera. Because otherwise,
probably many of you are familiar with the importance of the boomerang in GameCube full game speedruns, but because it allows you to do boomerang long jump attacks, and you break the game in a wide variety of ways, but you can't do those on Wii. It's a GameCube exclusive glitch, and that this route doesn't actually really have any LJs that would save time. Technically, if you get the boomerang on doing this route on GameCube, we can make a couple things easier, but it loses more time than it saves. Getting the boomerang takes several minutes.
Ooh, that is unlucky.
Unfortunately, a bad luck from the spider there.
Luckily, Nancy was not too mean about it.
Yeah. It can go a lot worse than that.
Yeah, we call her Nancy. She will kill your run. Be wary of her.
Sometimes that spider can be uncooperative. You have to lure it down to the point where you can hit it with the wolf jump attack. Normally at this point in the game, you're supposed to have the slingshot, but we skipped that by doing back in time at the start of the run. Anyways, we just have to go out here for a second to move some flags around and let us get to the other side of Forest Temple. It's about to say the East Wing, but not on Wii. It's the West Wing.
A nice
Nice woodpecker.
Woodpecker.
Yeah, if you jump attack into that cutscene in the right way, the funny thing happens.
Fun fact about that cutscene: Link's head detaches from his body for like a frame.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyways, here's the item that we needed from the Forest Temple. It's of course Uku.
Yep.
And Blue Rupees 5.
Important item. Yep.
Uku will let us leave this dungeon and return later, which is definitely a thing that we're doing just because we need to return to the Forest Temple and for no other reason.
Surely.
All right. You might be wondering why we're completing Fair and Twilight in the first place. And that is because of a trick called Back in Time Equipped, which I'll let Morgan explain.
Yep, we'll get to that in a minute. First off, Link E.
True.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to finish a Twilight as human. So the game tries to put the wolf animation on Link's body, and it doesn't work very well.
It's more of a Link 3.
So yeah, now we have to go to Kakariko Village, and we have a pretty easy way of going to Kakariko Village. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We're going to save here. That's important.
Yep. I'm not going to reset right after saving because that is part of the precautions to avoid crashing here. Because usually you're going to, if you press A on the title screen on Wii, you crash. But for whatever reason, doing that and then waiting a little bit there doesn't crash the game.
Yep, and now we're going to do Back in Time again. You can see he's loaded a previous save that's just set up right here. Actually, I think it was the same save. Anyways, we're now on the title screen, and we're going to jump off and pull up the file select screen at the same time. We didn't do that last time, but now when we load our save, we have all of the same items, inventory, story flags, whatever, but it wrong warps us into the first King Bulblin fight in Eldenfield. And now we just fight King Bulblin, which, always goes fine.
Actually, I ended up getting good RNG there, luckily, but I did mess up one of the slashes. But not
Yeah,
too bad at all.
that can go so much worse. That fight is stupid. And I assume we're gonna do the fast strat here. Yep. Gonna get Epona halfway across and turn around and be able to hopefully get 2 hits on King Bulblin and finish the second phase quickly.
Too bad.
And once we're done with that, now we are in Kakariko Village with all our stuff.
Right, and we're in a weird Twilight state because the game didn't load this area properly. In a lot of categories, you would see people either voiding out or going into a door and going back in. We're actually not going to be needing to be here anyways. So we're just going to go ahead and go to the Death Mountain.
I'm back. I manifested my internet crashing by talking about it earlier.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was very careful. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
Oh yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, you can talk about it.
Yeah, you could see, well, you couldn't really see, but one thing there is Badamja has to be very careful to avoid riding Epona into that loading zone. Epona is not really supposed to be there in the Twilights. I'm kind of unclear on why she gets to be there after the, in the state after fighting King Bulblin. But if we tried to load Epona in this map, the game would crash, which obviously would be a time loss.
And I have gotten very close to that. I've gotten so close that Link was like falling off of Epona while entering the load zone.
Yeah, I saw that. On Gamecube, you would actually do a trick called an Epona slide to get into that loading zone a tiny bit faster, which looks very cool, but fortunately not possible on the Wii version.
Technically, not messed up.
Okay, technically it is, but not in that context.
Yeah.
There is a way to do it on Wii, but it's stupid. Anyways, that's another portal that we'll never use. I'm wrong, we do use that portal.
Yeah, we will use that one. Which is actually the only reason we went there for now, is just to get that portal. We will be coming back there. And now we're going to do a frame perfect trick called Core TD, and I'll let Madeline explain what that is.
Yeah, so basically, when you're talking to Koro, and he gives you the bottle, there is one frame where you can input something between like him talking and him giving you the bottle, I believe. And during that one frame, we're gonna use Uku to like, get out of there with the bottle before he keeps on talking anymore, because we need to cut him off in the middle of his dialogue, because that dialogue is saved to a variable that is used for other things, including other people's dialogue. And this will basically allow us to skip certain dialogue from a different character.
Very nice first try, Core TD.
It's frame perfect, and
the reason
uses something called text displacement. That's the name of the technique.
The reason we needed to do this is because since we got the Master Sword, the room before Goron Mines, where you normally wrestle with Gor Koron to be allowed in, is like in a weird state, and you can't actually get into Goron Mines the usual way. There previously were a few ways to get around this. If you get the spinner, you can use that to get into Goron Mines, but obviously that takes a long time. So if you aren't getting it already, you wouldn't like to do that. Some very early routes would actually do a route called fixed EMS, where you would do early Master Sword, go through the Grove all the way up to the Master Sword to open the path, and then actually go back out and come back later as human once you had already opened Goron Mines.
We're going to use the
But it turns out that
we're going to use the dialogue progression from Koro and apply it to Gor Koron, and he's just going to let us in because we brought it past the part where he doesn't let us in.
Yep, and you just saw Badamja do a clip there to get into this area early. This is the elevator up to Goron Mines.
A nice little out of bounds clip there. Normally you're supposed to complete the Twilight and then get up here with using the Gorons to hoist you up. But with accessing this elevator from the back, this didn't used to be useful because you couldn't clip out of here. But relatively recently, there was a trick discovered called Elevator Escape.
Nice.
Looks like I got it.
Very nice, very nice.
It's frame perfect.
Yep,
Yeah.
and we'll just talk to Gor Koron a couple times and it will let us in because of text displacement. Yeah, that sequence is what really changed a lot of the early game routing, actually, because you saw you needed to put the iron boots on to press that switch and go up the elevator. Previously, we would get into Goron Mines with Bow text displacement, where we'd use the fact that Bow's cutscene at the start was a little broken, and actually delay getting the iron boots until we had already opened up Goron Mines. We would talk to Bow 4 to 6 times to set the text displacement state, because you can just walk back out of that dialogue anytime you like, which isn't supposed to happen. But then we wouldn't have had the iron boots at this point to go up. This lets us save a lot of backtracking. Anyways, Badamja's just doing some iframe abuse here to get past these flame jets. Saves a few seconds.
Nice.
I love watching Link walk through fire.
Yeah, he's good at it.
You maybe notice me putting away my sword before doors when I can, because if I have my sword pulled out in this dungeon and I open a door, it does take a little bit extra time to put it away, so might as well put it away first.
And then I think we can just let this one speak for itself.
Risky but time saver tonight.
There we go.
Nice.
And there we go. That is skipped about 2.5 minutes of complete nonsense.
Wow, nice.
That is a very recent discovery. Shoutouts to Bewilderbeast, among others. And an interesting thing about that trick is that it actually is what evens up the GameCube and Wii routes for this, because we've skipped several rooms, including one where you have to do a lot of walking on a ceiling with iron boots. There's a trick that Wii can use to do that much faster than GameCube can, which is now irrelevant. But yeah, very clean kitty jump, or kitty climb as we call it.
Gonna get the small
Anyway, it's
key
just
in the
gonna-
water.
Yep.
And then you're supposed to do the sequence where you go up and then end up hitting this crystal switch, but we actually won't be needing to do that. Hopefully I can demonstrate why.
Yep, you're not supposed to be able to be wolf here.
Nice.
And that's why.
Yeah, that part is a little sketchy because if you take too long, which I almost did, then the Tektites will start attacking you.
The funny thing is that if we had the jump strike hidden skill here, we could use it to just kind of glide all the way up along that wall. Anyways, instead of cutting the bridge down, we're going to get this pot. And we're going to jump.
Pot jump.
And that's the pot jump.
And that saves 1 second, by the way. And the reason it saves time is because otherwise you would have to watch the long cutscene of the bridge falling down. But yeah, it will be necessary. I'm going to go over here and get the small key. And this chest being open is also going to help us a bit later.
Yep, we're going to do some more out of bounds nonsense. Anyways, one of the things that was in that section of rooms that we skipped with Kitty Climb is the first key shard. The boss key to Goron Mines is split into 3 pieces for safekeeping, and we're going to skip the second one too. Turns out that the game actually only checks for the last one, since you're supposed to be able to, you're not supposed to be able to avoid getting them.
This is a very hard trick.
This trick is
very angle precise.
Dumb.
It's like frame perfect as well for the jump.
Yep. A lot of frame perfect tricks in this category.
There it is.
There we go.
Not too bad. Kind of a risky but kind of cool jump there.
Yep,
I'm going to
and-
be doing sword combos to go across the magnet wall. It's a little bit faster than walking.
Yep, though kind of fiddly because of the direction you have to hold on the control stick aren't totally obvious. In this game, when you attack, you can do directional attacks, but the directions are like relative to where Link is facing, not necessarily the camera, which can be non-intuitive. Anyways, set up here to get a faster hit on Dangoro. You can actually fall off the ledge during that animation, and that makes it count for 2. And unfortunately, didn't get the quick spin attack, but no, did get the quick spin attack. I'm right.
A pretty good Dangoro fight.
Slightly dubious means of fighting Dangoro.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably how the developers intended you to do it.
If I was playing the HD version, you can actually do that with quick transform. Quick transform and Dangoro just falls through the floor. Fortunately, we didn't get to see that.
Does that work in randomizer? I think it also works in randomizer.
I don't know.
If it doesn't, Lunar should mod that in because it would be funny. Anyways, we can now get our 4th item of the run, the bow.
But why do we need that?
We actually need it because there's no other way to get the bridge down. Yep, lantern. Yeah, one slightly disappointing thing about the new route is that we end up with 5 items at the end of it. Previous Goron Mines RTA routes only did 3.
Exponentially increased rate of like mistaken equips.
Unfortunately missed the quick shot on the BMOS there. There we go.
And this BMOS only stays pulled if you pull it 4 times. I'm going to be doing that.
Like most things you pull in this game.
Some runners prefer to push it twice on each direction, but I think pulling it 4 times is what most people do these days. Anyways, we've collected all 3 key shards, definitely.
Totally. Definitely not just the 3rd one. That's kind of a common theme with this game.
Zelda games in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only check for the last one.
Yeah, the same sort of thing comes up in other parts of the full game run. And as we're actually backtracking here, the boss in Goron Mines is kind of in a weird place, and this is actually the fastest way to get to him. And you can target Dangoro from anywhere in this room, which is silly.
Yeah.
It makes it very easy to talk to him by mistake, which we would like to not do.
You noticed I was slashing there. That was to make it so I didn't talk to him when I pressed A so that I could roll.
Yep, we're just going to jump down here.
Yeah, if I jump attack right before hitting the water, also saves a few frames, a little further.
On GameCube, if you were doing a full game, or like an all dungeons run, you'd probably do an LJA there, but obviously we can't do that for a variety of reasons.
Oops.
And it's going to get these Boblins out of the way so they don't cause us trouble later.
And also so they don't start a cutscene when I go through here. Now I'm going to jump onto this chest with the iron boots, get angle myself a certain way, then do a jump attack and force unequip them by equipping an item over them. And I'll be able to get on this little collision. And I can go over here, jump over this railing, go over here, run past these barrels. Oh, all right, not too bad. And yeah, that skips killing a Venus, saves just under 7 seconds, I believe.
Yep, and that's actually only possible on the Wii version. Various types of moon boots are possible on any version of TP, but that specific application is only possible on Wii. Basically, the earlier you pull the item wheel, the more height you get on your moon boots, and Wii can pull the item wheel 1 frame earlier than GameCube can, just because of how the input processing works. And unfortunately missed the snipe to shoot the bridge down.
Yeah, unfortunate.
A fun fact about this room is that one of the Boblins actually spawns slightly flipped into the floor, so he just immediately dies when the room loads.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's why you have us. And we are finally to the end. This is the last boss of Goron Mines, and once we beat him, the run is over.
So just like normal, I'm going to shoot him in the face and then grab the chain and pull him back. And you're supposed to do that 3 times, but I'm actually going to be doing something a little bit different, hopefully, if I get the tricks. Save a little bit of time. Anyways, I'm going to go under his shoulder and we'll stab him. I'm going to grab the chain again. That's just the wrong chain. Grab this chain. Just at the right time. Hopefully this is far back enough. See if this works.
Okay. Another fairly recent discovery.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I did there was I grabbed the chain at a very specific time. And what that does is it makes it so that you don't have to shoot him in the head again. So I can kind of just repeat that again. Hopefully I get it. Right when his right arm starts going up, pretty much like that.
Nice.
Even though it looks like the chain got flung away from me, I was still able to grab it. And yeah. Only unfortunate thing about this category is that we don't have ending blow. We can't do the funny fire strat where we jump through him.
Yep, and now we'll just have to watch a long cutscene.
Yep, that'll do it. We've defeated the boss of Goron Mines, and timing will stop upon saying yes to Midna when we hit the exit portal. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. My name is Badamsha, and thanks to my commentators, and also thank you, Dayton and the GDQ team, for having me on. Appreciate it very much.
Of course, this was absolutely wonderful, and my gosh, you're so good at this game. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Badamsha is cracked. He's gotten so good recently.
This is a pretty good run as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, GG's. If you'd like the time, it'll come in just a sec here.
Yep. It'll be about 30 seconds or so, or less.
Yeah, this cutscene takes forever. I always forget that. Anyways, timing will stop when he says yes to the dialogue prompt here.
Yeah, fun fact, I actually didn't know that one time. And I wasted 3 minutes just sitting there at the portal.
I forgot that there's even more cutscene. There we go. And time.
There you go.
GG.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, very nice run.
Appreciate it. Yeah, not a bad run. This can go a lot worse. Mainly because of core OTD.
Yeah, the problem with core OTD is you can only do it once, because if you can't buy the bottle again, so he would have to have reloaded that save, which loses like 45 seconds or something every time you do that.
Everyone was about a minute off world record, which is pretty good.
Anyways, we've
Yeah, not too bad at all.
brought peace back to Kakariko Village. It's all normal again.
Yeah, look how normal
Definitely.
works.
Wait, why is there 2 hours left on the any percent runtime?
Lots
Guess
of
y'all will
other
have
parts
to
of the
go
game.
find out.
Yeah, if you guys
Am I
like this
watching
and
one?
you're interested in
There's
running the
more
game, we have a great community. Would really recommend joining it if you like what you saw and you think that you could do it too. Our Discord is discord.gg/TP. Lots of people in there who are happy to help.
Yeah, very nice community. Everyone's very chill and super helpful. Very fun speed
Yep.
game. I highly recommend getting started. And we have very
Yep, we have lots of
expansive
good
resources.
documentation.
Exactly, yes.
Yep, check out ZeldaSpeedruns.com.
Probably some of the best documentation I've seen for like any speed game, honestly.
Definitely, yeah. A very nice community. Yeah, shout out
So
to
I
all
will
you
warn you,
guys.
if you do want to run any percent on this game, it does not include Goron Mines. We skipped that dungeon entirely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why Goron Mine was made, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the category exists basically because, well, one is just we wanted a shorter race category that isn't 3 hours long. And also because, yeah, outside of all dungeons and 100%, there was kind of no other reason to go there. Shout out to all dungeons, the best category.
Yeah. I was actually working on routing all dungeons earlier today. And
Oh, nice.
it's pretty convoluted. See if I can get this.
When are we doing
Oh, I
here?
messed it up. You jump attack right there. You can end up voiding out there.
That's cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. I think some categories do that now.
Oh, for the reload?
Yeah, to
guess.
reload cat.
All right.
Why not
And,
just do the opponent's load?
I love all this
Anyways.
secret tech. While you
Yeah.
keep trying to do fun things in the game, where can everybody in chat find all of you?
Yeah, so if you want to see me speedrun live, I speedrun on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Badamja if you want to check me out. I mostly stream TP, and I also uploaded on my I upload my runs on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Badamja runs. You can check me out there. Yeah, it's pretty much where you can find me. Also, chatting in the TP Discord if you want to, discord.gg/TP if you want to learn more about that, get involved. Very easy to get involved. And yeah, and my commentators they also stream on Twitch. If you guys like
Yep,
to,
I'm on. I also speedrun this game sometimes. I'm not nearly as good at it as Badamja. I'm on Twitch, twitch.tv/wolfgarden. I haven't been streaming very much recently, but I'm trying to get back into that. You can also get my attention if you come to the Twilight Princess speedrunning Discord and post a crash. I like those.
Yeah, I'm currently doing a sub-3 grind series of streams. Probably going to go on for quite a bit. So if you're interested in that, feel free to follow me. I just said A in the chat, so yeah, you can click that name.
and yeah,
But yeah, I think that's all we have for you tonight.
yeah. Again, thank you so much for having us. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad the run went well. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Thanks everyone for coming on and joining the stream. I saw all of your guys' messages. Thanks after the fact for all the good luck. Really appreciate it.
And we really appreciated you coming on the show as well to show us an absolutely fantastic run. That was really fun to watch. So much great tech and so fast. Thank you to the Twilight Princess crew. And also, well, unfortunately, that's going to be the end of Creature Corner for tonight. But that does not mean that the GDQ channel is going dark just yet. If you missed out on Out of the Box or Creature Corner, stay tuned as we replay both shows right after this. And be sure to